Be quiet.
Oh, my lanyard. That's funny. Oh, thank you.
Oh, it's so really crazy. Sorry for thinking that's funny. Yeah. Brain was so nuts. Yeah, space. I'm all. Why did you say to me? No. Why did you call me and text me? I'm all she's supposed to call to invite me. Call or text me. I could have told you I've been down myself. They usually have enough time then pay last I think so. Maybe it was totally fine. Thanks for setting me interesting. It was me. Oh my God, I used to hear this here. Yeah. So. If you go there and you roll down and then. Right here? Go to Renee and that one. Yeah. Roll down.
I'm gonna let you, I have my bifocals on and I can't really see a thing.
Yeah.
I just left the glasses. Sorry.
It's great, talk to Sir Camille, putting, see, I mean, facilities, keywords, see, it's been higher, a lot of our stuff. To the point where.
Look at that, I have old tape on.
From Meg.
And you still have Kate Holmes in there?
Yeah.
I do too if I serve.
She said it Friday. Be in your calendar. Go to the right on the calendar.
Or yeah.
The right. Oh, up here? This?
The kind of.
Ask me to use it.
Oh, and the other. A lot of that.
With Google Meet, there's not the one with Zoom.
That one there was the right date.
Oh, you can try the one tonight. Parent Square. Parent Square.
That's a line for me.
Google search Zoom. You know what? Google search.
So Jennifer is saying that she wants about 6:30. She wants to be able to zoom in. We're doing Zoom today.
Okay, no loss of about it.
Yeah, she should have it in her calendar invite.
Like usually you can open that invite altogether.
Are you gonna weird pictures?
You've got Google, they all say Google, all Google, so what your best bet is, so we'll just go to Zoom and. I can just go to Zoom and type it in.
Or Parent Square, because, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, there we go. Ta-da.
Thanks, guys, for picking up my deficit of forgetting my computer. This is what I, you know, yeah, I have to put it.
Join from your browser.
Yes.
Join from your browser at way at the bottom, down there, right there. Join there.
A lot of questions.
It is a lot of questions. Why is that happening? That's kooky talk.
Want to use the camera?
Yes.
Okay.
Just, there you go.
Perfect. That's why I'm here. Next time on Zoom. Oh, I have to.
And there you are. And I'm admitting you. And I'm going to turn over host. Let's see, participants. We did. Make host. I'm making you the host. You are the host now.
Because I am.
Yeah.
I regret that we didn't have a chance to sit down.
Hey, all, Sean, or, can you hear me? Jessica?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Microphone needs to be set to Yeti Nano. And speakers to be Sonic.
Well, we've been.
Realtek. Is that
we've been
here?
doing computer, so this computer.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm muting.
Oh, is it because?
It's me.
Yeah. Okay. I never saw Sean unmute though to talk. I don't know. I guess she's mute.
I can hear you.
Oh, yay! Okay, thank you. In unison. Okay. Okay, we're gonna officially call this meeting to order at 6:10. Technical difficulties. And we are going to do the school first. You guys want to do that together? Sure. Sure.
This is our school, may peace dwell here. May the rooms be full of contentment. May love abide here. Love of one another, love of our school, and love of life itself. Let us remember that as many hands build a house, so many hearts build a school.
Thank you. Okay. Let's call a committee member. Nicole, you want to start?
Nicole Canelli, parent rep here.
Trisha out there to a charter board member here.
Kathy Maddox, facilities here.
Buckner's.
Okay. You guys want to announce yourself just so we have you?
Kevin Easterling, architect.
Julie Kissel,
Perfect.
Chico Unified.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go to public comments. If anybody has anything to say that is not on the agenda before we get started. Okay, seeing none, we're gonna go to item 3, which is the consent agenda. So Maggie sent out all of the meeting minutes from the meetings before, so everybody had an opportunity to take a look at those. Okay. So if anybody wants to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I, Nicole Canelli, will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for September 16th, October 3rd, October 22nd, November 6th, 2024, all of those, and now
You
also
actually-
December 10th of 2024.
Just have to make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Okay, anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, we'll go for the vote. Nicole, you want to start?
Aye.
Trisha, aye. Yeah, aye.
Buckner's side.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, on to item 4, agenda modifications. Does anybody have any agenda modifications? You guys have agendas over there? Okay. Okay, seeing none, we'll go to 5, which is all the fun stuff. Okay, I feel like the screen is black. Should it be black? Am I doing something wrong, Nikki? So
don't
just
think
because
so.
we're
It
not
might just-
presenting, because I'm not sharing, I don't have
Yeah,
anything,
it
because it's not
might
my
be,
computer.
it might be your view, like,
It's probably just because I typically am sharing my screen and I'm not,
That's
because it's
what it
not
is.
my, okay, just,
Yeah.
it feels different.
You can have the chat up though, so in case others have questions or comments, you can see them. There you go.
Thinking ahead to when we talk about the program document, I brought printed copies. I wonder, I sent it out by email. Is there a way to maybe share with the folks online?
You sent it to us, huh?
Yeah.
Do you have it, or you
I can-
forward it to Kat and then you
I
pull it up?
I can pull it up probably if it's,
Are you
yeah,
gonna stay?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
I'll-
oh, okay, okay.
yeah,
Perfect.
I'll put it up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, 5.1, Prop 2 funding update. Susan and we just want to give an update on that. There's not really a lot to give an update on, but the state's still rolling out their process. They're gonna host a webinar in March, it sounds like, to kind of say, here's what Prop 2 is gonna look like, here's how you can apply for those funds. So we've been working and paying attention. We're on the emails list to get that information as soon as there's more information.
March, we'll get an update.
Well, hopefully that we'll get an update soon on when the webinar dates are, and then we'll sign up for those webinar dates. So is there any else that you know other than that, Julie? Yeah. Okay. So then anybody have any questions or other thoughts on Prop 2?
What's the webinar?
About Prop 2 and what the requirements, what the process, the application, how they're gonna go through. So Susan and I have had one phone call with somebody in November about it, but they
And they're
still don't
saying,
have any process really set up
Come
yet.
out in March. So
Yeah.
they're like, that they have to figure out their process. And
Yeah.
It's gonna take. a few months,
I may
Yeah.
have not been included on the email.
so. Oh,
Someone will have to forward it to
all right,
Oh.
let's see if I can do that.
Okay.
forward
Um,
and then forward.
Forward it to both of you. maybe at the same time.
I am capable of it.
Okay, so anything else on Prop 2? Okay, so we'll move to 5.2. So I just threw all of this on, not saying that you have to have answers for all of it, but I just wanted to talk about it as we're going through it. So if you want to start, if there's anything in general, or if you want to just go to Measure C and kind of go there.
So for Measure C, the district is starting to work on the process and criteria for applying for those charter school funds. We're meeting with two representatives from the school board that are on our facilities committee and doing like a working meeting mid-February.
Okay.
On CD update for site approval, kind of ties back into the Prop 2 discussion. So the form was pretty easy and we worked together to get it filled out. It requires some, two drawings, one overall drawing of the district and all the locations of the schools, and then a site-specific drawing. So Kevin has been working on those, and when we get those back, we will submit them to the state. It's called a 5004, I think is the name of the form. And it's a very, very preliminary step to site approval.
Okay.
I did speak with King Consulting because we talk all the time and mentioned Blue Oak and what we're trying to do and the necessity of, getting site approval. And the advice that I got was apply for Prop 2. If you get it, then go for site approval.
Yeah.
But this first step is really no cost. It doesn't cost any fee to CDE for them to review what we submit to them. So I think we should just go ahead and continue down that path.
And get
But
that started.
yeah, and apparently they provide some sort of score,
Okay.
like to the school,
Okay.
like approvability score when they do that site assessment. And I printed out all of the regulations, and I'll leave it with you
Okay.
for the site. I mean, there's a lot of hazardous things that they look for,
Yeah.
underground pipelines or high-powered electrical lines or underground fuel storage tanks, highway noise, things like that, that they don't like to see around a school site that they're approving. So I'll leave those with you, but we'll continue down the road to send in that form and have a site visit from someone from CDE come out
Okay.
and look at the site.
Does everybody know, because I forget if we've talked about it in the facilities or because I know that Susan and I and Julie have talked about all that a lot, but I don't remember if we've talked about it in this meeting, what that all is. Okay. So with Prop 2 and stop me if I you can correct it, but with Prop 2 to qualify for that, part of it is you have to have CDE approval. So after Prop 2 passed, we started looking at what it would look like for Blue Oak to get some of that funds. And we would have to have the CDE approval and go through that process, which can be expensive to do that
And lengthy.
and lengthy.
Yeah.
So Julie did the first application, which isn't, just to get that started. But what they're saying is, hey, find out if you can get Prop 2 before you go through all of this stuff and then not get it. Because if we get Prop 2, then we have time to make sure we meet the requirements that CDE has. And I think that's kind of like what happened with Inspire, right? They didn't initially get funds and then somebody lost their funds and then they ended up getting them.
Right.
So, because they didn't qualify for that other school. So that's kind of what that is.
On their point score. They didn't qualify.
Well, whatever their application, whatever that
They kind of
criteria.
rank
Yeah.
them by suitability, score, and they were just below getting funded, and then someone that had qualified to be funded couldn't come up with the match money,
Oh.
so Inspire got to move up and get funded.
Is the Prop 2 funding a necessity in order for us to move forward, or is just an extra if we do, yay? I don't know, that's what Kevin's gonna tell us how much it's all gonna cost us soon, and then we'll know.
Smile.
It wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
And so then the third thing is the City of Chico resolution. So kind of our standard operating procedure when the district is doing a project, we exempt ourselves from the city ordinances, which could save you money. I mean, the city can't come in and tell you what you have to put in streetlights or different things like that, that normally they make, property developers do. But all of our draft language assumes that we're under the umbrella of the state architect's office, which if you don't design through DSA, then you're not. So the language doesn't work.
Okay.
So we either skip that step and we don't exempt ourselves, or we have to get with an attorney to have that language revised so it fits for your project. The property is owned by the district.
Yeah.
So we do have the authority to exempt ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's probably still a good idea, but
Can you forward me the language you use and then I can forward it to the charter lawyer or something?
I have it, I know, too, that document, I can find it and resend it out.
Okay.
That standard document that you had sent back in November or
Right.
something, right?
it's a resolution.
Yeah. And from talking to you, both of you, it sounds like that can be quite expensive if we're not exempt, right? So I know that there's a little bit about how much it's gonna cost for the attorney versus how much is it gonna cost us if we don't exempt ourselves, but I think with streetlights and signage and, there's a lot of different things that you go into.
I would support us exempting ourselves.
Yeah.
The comparison, just the timing, if you get the lawyer to do his stuff in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
Who knows how long it would take otherwise.
Yeah. And you don't have an idea, I think at one point we talked about the attorneys that you use drafting that new amendment. I don't have computers, I don't have any of my notebooks.
Yeah, it's hourly.
Yeah, so it's whatever it takes.
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
probably a bit unusual.
Yeah.
It'll probably make it even more
Expensive.
difficult than
Yeah.
it need to
Yeah,
be.
Okay.
Because that's how our attorneys work.
Yeah, okay.
But so if you want to use your own, that's fine.
I think we will do well to use our own. They
But
like
it does
do
need
this
to
kind of
be,
stuff.
it does need to be, Chico Unified Resolution.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it's going to
Right.
that board
So if we have somebody draft it, then we need to send it
to me.
and then you can get approval.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Does it have to go through the city or anything like that? It's just a resolution.
We just send it to them after we do it.
Yeah,
Say
and
this
they,
is the deal.
Here you go.
yeah. Okay, thank you for those updates. Anything else on your part?
Yeah, I don't think
That's
so.
gonna cover next. Okay. Anybody have any questions on any of that stuff? Okay, moving on to 5.3, which is really why we're all here. So,
It's my turn.
your turn, Kevin.
I love it.
I sent that
To me?
to Kathy, but do I need to send it to you? I think I,
No, don't send it to me because
yeah, because
I have no idea how to
think
get to it.
you're, gotcha.
Okay, let's see. How do
That's it.
I, is it
That's it. Right
this
there.
one?
That one or the one above, either one.
So while you're pulling that up,
Okay, so now, perfect, thank you.
I guess just a quick thought about where we are in the whole process here. Of course, we have several meetings scheduled. This one is the point and purpose of us getting together. The discussion tonight is to take a look at what we've been working on, which is trying to quantify the space that you need.
Thank you.
Go to stop, let's stop sharing.
Oh,
I think you just stopped, I think, oh no, you got it now. It's on there. You got it.
Yeah, okay.
I wonder, can everyone else see that?
They should, I shared screen, I shared it. Sean, can you see that? Maggie, you can see it on your screen.
I can see it.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah, I can see
Jessica.
it.
So we've been hard at work from a number of different fronts, taking stock of what you currently have, projecting what we think you might need based on the basic needs summary that you provided to us. We also came to school and we documented the whole campus, most of it via photography and measurements. And the idea is that we wanted to know where you're coming from to have a better idea of where you're going. We also talked with faculty, we talked with staff, we took extensive notes, and we weave that all into the story that we're trying to tell with the program that's in front of you. So again, the point of this is to help take stock of the spatial requirements that we think the school is going to need. What I plan to do tonight is talk about this in a general sense. I want to compare it to what you currently have in this facility. And then I also have some questions about some of the things that may have been discussed in the past with previous iterations of trying to find a new home for BOFaC. And then if we have time and if everyone's willing, I'd love to hear comments on this. We can dig into it as much as we care to do so, but what I would say is that these numbers want to become final and pretty solid pretty quick, because they will help inform what we do from here on from a number of different fronts. Cost estimating, of course, is probably one of the most important, but also that we used as we start developing preliminary test fits for the site, space plans, diagrams for the floor plans of the actual building. So we don't need to know 100% tonight before we leave that these are the numbers that we want to use, because we have a little bit of time to figure that out. But it's kind of one of those over the next week, maybe two, speak now or hold your peace kind of things. But I understand that looking at a spreadsheet full of numbers is not everybody's cup of tea. Some of these things are kind of hard to understand. You know, what is a 700 square foot room look like? So we'll talk through those. I can compare to you where some of these are smaller than what you currently have or bigger than what you currently have. So that's the long and short of it.
Perfect.
Anybody have any questions before we dive? Okay. Let's take a step back real quick. And before we dive into the program, I want to start at the very top here and the students and staff numbers. These are based on a couple of different numbers that were told to me either at my tour with parents that one day, or I think in facilities meetings we talked about it too. But am I right that your current student count is around 220? 232 is a number I also heard?
Yeah.
220?
We're 224 as of today.
Oh, cool. Okay.
A number in my head all the time.
Love it. And then I think I'm understanding correctly that your charter has a max of 320 students.
That's what, our charter document actually is higher than that, but that's our realistic number.
Okay. So oftentimes when we do these sorts of projections, looking into the future, we like to think as where you want to go, not where you are right now. We're designing the school for your future, right? And make sure that it works for you. We're not quite to the point yet where I need to know that number for sure, but if we look out 5 years from now, think? And does the school have a plan to be upwards of 300 or more?
No, 320 would be a max number that we're looking at for the site to hold.
Okay.
Really 310, so 320 is fine.
Okay. And we talked about this, that relates back to class size, how the school functions, and not losing what makes it special. Thinking about that, right?
That would be, having one, like every class people.
Yeah.
You know,
Be 300.
Then good, the numbers that we have in this document reflect that, so.
perfect.
And then one other thought before we dive further into this, and this might be a quick discussion, it might not. The civil engineer that we have working on a project with us is the civil engineer for all of Marine Park. It just makes sense to have him as part of the project.
Okay.
It also just so happens that I think that they did some work for you in the past. I think that they were involved with the versions of the school hunt that involved a company named Arctic, or Arctics, I don't know. And maybe a company called Turner Impact Capital. I might see people cringe when I say that name, because I understand things didn't go perfectly. I bring them up not to rub salt in the wound, but I got a site plan from North Star Engineering, and I brought up just a print out of it. You guys might recognize this, but
So North Star Engineering, I have a brother-in-law that's in the civil engineering world in Chico, so I want to make sure it's not him. So
Okay.
it's North Star?
that's correct.
Okay. That's
Who's your brother-in-law? Just curious.
Erickson?
Oh, cool.
Russ?
Russ.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just talked to him. That's great. This was a site plan from long, long ago. It is the site that you are currently looking at, we are currently looking at. I don't know, does this recognize this?
I do.
Okay. It's a bunch of gray rectangles on the site, and it looks like individual buildings that are probably modulars.
Yeah.
The square footage of this is what made me want to bring it up tonight. I wondered the story behind this, because what's currently on this page is about half of what this building is, and it's about half of what is in this document. Now, if the quick answer is, yeah, they missed the mark and they designed something that we didn't ask them to, makes sense. If we did a lot of work and figured out how to whittle down your program to about half of what you currently have, I would love to know that. Is there an easy explanation as to how we got to?
I think our thoughts are that this building is too big for us,
Okay.
right? And we thought that we could get by with something a lot smaller than this.
Okay.
So,
And going through and asking the questions of the people you asked, they probably are like, yeah, we need this and we need that.
Yes.
Which the reality may be that we don't need quite so much.
Good.
And so that those questions and answers need to be made.
and I think some of those numbers, like if that's around so 20,000 square feet or so,
Just about 22.
came from working with like previous groups.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'm trying to remember, like years ago when we were looking at other sites, when they said, we said, this is how many students we have, this is what we're looking to accomplish, they said, this is the square footage you probably need then, when we were looking at sites previously.
Was part of that process.
I do want to remind everybody that we do have to stick to ADA regulations and EDC regulations when it comes to special education and the mobility of students. So that is exactly why I'm on this team. So if you have any questions about special ed, I have all the information, and I really need to know that these doors and everything is going to be wheelchair accessible.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Just to help with that concern, yeah, absolutely. We have no choice. It's the
Yeah.
law. We have to do that. So. And you're onto something there in some way. The size of the school does relate back to its functionality and how it gets used. I'm interested to hear that this program may have worked at some point. Somebody, obviously put some time and effort into this, and the size of the school that's depicted on the site plan. I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but was that kind of approved and facilities or directors thought that was a good size to go with? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's all preliminary,
Okay.
like talked at the charter, at the board level, and
Okay.
but we never approved it.
Yeah, and it was actually an entirely different site from this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was not, it was one
Yeah.
property.
Based on
So
the
this
site.
isn't on their current property?
This is, what happened is that Ross, who was the civil engineer from North Star, took the other site
Oh.
and he traced over
okay.
the building
So
and put them
that's
on the
quite
site.
possible. Yeah,
Oh,
but
gotcha.
it is not something
Yeah.
we approved or paid for or
No, I don't believe so.
Here's an idea.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Okay, but the buildings that he traced over in theory, and I think he gave me the plan from the old site, which was an infill, it was surrounded by things on all sides.
Yeah.
That's where he got those building sizes from, so. What I'm thinking is this reflects just about what you have in this building right now. Before I did the revision with some of the CDE recommendations that Julia was so kind to provide, we were, I think, 1,600 square feet short of what you have in this building right now. I think we could be more aggressive. I think we could find opportunities to find uses that can live together, multi-purpose spaces, like Julie said in our very first meeting, are one of the best ways to save space and save money. I know that we can't get to half the size that we're at now. So I'm gonna put the site plan aside. I'm glad that we saw it. I'm glad that we talked about it. If somebody had told me, yeah, that's exactly what we want, then we'd talk more about it. But we'll put that.
I think it has to do with cost, right? It came down to
Absolutely.
that was money.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. To give everybody something to look forward to after we go through some fun numbers, I did talk with Coming Group, who is the cost estimating partner that we teamed up with for this. Coming to schools all over the state of California, and I think in other states too. But they had a lot of great insight as to what costs could be. We're not at a point where these numbers are firm or final anyway, but after we're done talking through this, we get to talk about some dollars. So there's the carrot at the end of the stick. Sound good?
Stay till the end of the episode.
I like that, yeah. Cool, so we start at the top. What I'd like to do is take a quick spin through the document and tell you the big parts and pieces. And then if everybody's interested or has comments as we go, I'll be here. So from the beginning, section 1 then is the admin. At first, we are thinking about office occupancy, the main office. That would be folks who are kind of grouped together all in one area. Then we'll look at distributed administration. Those are things that could live along with that main admin office block, where they could be distributed a little further out in the campus. They don't have to be in that cluster, perhaps. Then we'll look at admin support, which is faculty lounge and workroom. Those things can oftentimes be a little bit separated from the main office. Not too much, but it helps us with adjacencies when we start going to space planning and the next steps. That's why they're kind of chunked together as they are.
So these numbers are all square footage?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. Yeah, at the very top. Yep. So there's a quantity for each. There's an area for each, and then if there's multiple of them, the total area quantifies that. Yeah. And then the dark gray heading for administration, for example, the number that's in the middle of that, that's the gross for the total for all the administration.
The dark bar is the total of those three sections.
That's correct.
Thank you.
I'll come back and we'll ask questions after we kind of spin through it here, but the red are questions that I'd like to revisit. Next up would be student services. So these are things that help support students. First, we have what we call the guidance section, community resources room, community coordinator's office. To the next page, which I have upside down, forgive me. But section 0202.
I kind of like it.
That's why it didn't work for me. Because I'm holding it up. My printer. We got a new one at the office. The health wing we'll talk about, nurse office, if you're in the cot area, probably inside of the nurse office, just like you have it now. Health restroom was a request that we heard. Next, support services, psychologist office, speech office, wellness room, counseling, intervention, and special education. Think about these things as we spin through them. If you have thoughts or comments, we'll come back. Multi-purpose room, which is mostly your great room. A little storage to supplement that great room. We talked about the need for stage storage. The great room kitchenette, which might be a place that if there was a need to serve inside of that room, whether it be like refreshments, coffee, tea, donuts, whatever, it's a spot to do it. Small hand sink if you need it. And then the library. Next, section 3, teaching and learning. This is where we get into the classrooms. So we chunked it off into early childhood classrooms, which has preschool, TK, kindergarten, and then early childhood storage. Elementary would be next, grades 1 through 5, elementary storage, and then restrooms to serve those. I should mention in the early childhood right now, we're counting for the restrooms to be in those classrooms. In the elementary grades from 1 through 5, we have a separate line item for there, the 250 square feet per student restroom, because we'd like to see those separate from the classrooms in those grade levels. And then middle school classrooms, grades 6 through 8, storage to go along with that, and then restrooms to go along with those student populations. Specialized classrooms, those are all the special fund ones, and then special education at the end. Just got done with the grand circle tour, then we'll go back again. Food services, of course, we have the kitchen, what we're calling a servery. It'll be a small area where food is served. Not too dissimilar from what you have now, a roll-up window style with a small counter, right? It's not a full cafeteria, it's not a food line where people line up, just a small servery. And then food office. Building services, right now we have a facilities office. We saw the request for a facilities workshop. What we're thinking about is perhaps having some custodial closets that are distributed throughout the building or the campus. We got 3 of those at about 60 square feet right now. And the question, are they needed? Of course, we're talking about an elevator if we go 2-story with an elevator equipment room. And then the general storage room, which we saw in this campus. We heard some, yes, we need that, some, no, we don't want that. It gives people a space to store things, which so that's one that could be on the top. Staff restrooms, of course, we're thinking about those for each of the grade levels. That's in addition to the admin restroom, which is in the main office wing. So those are kind of sprinkled out. There's 3 of them there. Pretty small, just enough to be accessible compliant. Last but not least, the community in section 12 there, which is pantry, personal care, and laundry, which are all things that we request for. Then those next couple sections there add up everything. 37,825 is the total net area, what we call the net. That's basically inside the walls. It doesn't include all the things that need to help hold the building up or make the building function, which is what the wall factor is for. We add 10% onto that. And then the core factor is everything else, circulation, corridors, hallways, stairways, those types of things. By the time we get to the 49,173, that is the total facility gross area. And then sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. I did it for tonight. We might take it out later, but a 5% contingency. In case we find something that we need in the future. That 5% sometimes goes either way, an addition or a subtraction. But in this case, we added it on to a grand total of 51,631 square feet. Then the next 2 line items there are things that we like to look at, which is how efficient are we being? 73% efficiency and 161 gross square feet per student. That's pretty comparable for a school of your nature. With schools that have a specialized curriculum, such as Waldorf or Montessori or things like that, we find that the square footage per student is a little bit higher. On some that are a little more efficient, especially even on larger schools, where they have, for example, 1 admin or 1 office wing that serves the entire campus, that number goes down a little bit. It's just a way for us to check, are we providing about what we think is common, and also there are some regulations too from CDE, also some regulations from the charter schools, authorities as they are, and what they'd like to see. So last but not least, the site there, we separated that out individually. And all those elements are things that we saw either in the basic needs summary, things that we see on site here, or things that we talked about either in our tours or with our meetings with faculty and staff. Just to pause for a moment and give you an idea of where you currently are right now. Good. Overall, this building has a total gross square footage of 48,150. That's where we're sitting. Outside what we saw, well, I'll come back to site.
That's the net area, like inside?
That would be gross.
That's gross.
Correct. So before, I made a couple edits just this afternoon working with Julie. We were, again, just about 1,600 square feet shy of that 48,000. If we take out the 5% contingency and what we see there with the 49,000, we're right about where you are, about 1,000 square feet, but pretty comparable. Which brings me to the point of, your building right now does seem large. It does seem a little inefficient in some ways. But I don't think that it's from the main organization of the building. I don't think it's from the hallways. They might be a tad much in some areas, but what occurs to me is that there's some duplication of spaces. There are things that could be living in one space that are living in two, or places like this room, for example, that might be a bit big for the actual purpose of it. So I think those are the efficiencies we're gonna find in this program. I don't think that there's one fell swoop that we're gonna want to move, like all the classrooms get 100 square foot smaller or something. I don't think that's the right move. I think the challenge for us, if we do need to whittle this down, which I know we do, is to find efficiencies. So before I go back through it, questions?
Thank you for the work that you've done so far.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
The only thing that I have, and maybe we'll, is so under support services, there's special education, but then special education classroom is also a separate line item.
Look at that. What's the first number for the first one?
2306,
Mhm.
under support services for 1,000. And then it's also on its own line item for 3.04.
I would like to take my pen and cross my lines.
Okay.
Okay, and then it should be 1350,
Correct,
because I missed it.
correct.
Oh, for that size.
Yeah, but we did go
Which one are
down
we
by.
crossing out?
We'll take off the 0304 by itself and leave it in the category previous.
Well, that's good.
There we go, look at us.
It should be 13.
Is this under 303, the teaching and learning?
0304, special education.
Specialized classroom.
It's just double.
Oh, down here, one more.
Yeah, they have it in there.
Oh,
twice.
well,
That's
okay.
easy.
And I took the word draft off here, but it should be there because it's
Nice catch.
good one, Tricia. What else you got?
Do they have,
Only duplicate, that's all.
where do the students eat?
Yeah,
In their
that's, I
classroom.
had a question.
In their classroom?
That's what we, yeah.
Yeah, we labeled the great room because that's what we call it here in this facility, right? But it might be, somebody quoted a great term that I forgot, cafetorium.
Cafetorium.
Cafetorium, yeah.
Seeing that used.
I don't know, do students eat in the great room currently? Not too often.
No, the
Do you
students
have on cold days
Yes.
or days that are really rainy where parents don't want to have their kids eating breakfast in 40-degree weather?
Yeah, for breakfast.
Right.
Is that something that,
lunches are eaten in the classroom, and that's a preference from the teachers because it's community building time. So they take their food back to their classroom, eat there, and then go out for their breaks. But we do have times when it's rainy day recess, and then they do tend to stay inside for that. But
Gotcha.
our current great room works for that because it's mostly breakfast, which is a subset of the full classroom. It's not everybody eating at the same time.
Just decides whoever shows up to eat that morning, so it's not like a group setting.
staggered?
And I think that old plan, like, we didn't have a great room factored in that one, right? Yeah.
There's a multi-purpose room, but it's much smaller than what you currently have at about 2,000 square feet. Your great room
It's
currently
6,000.
is size, it's about 6,000. Yeah, your current great room is 6,120 square feet, and we had plugged in there for about 6,000.
And just looking at our concert and so forth.
Yeah, I don't know that we can do much smaller in it, yeah, in the break room, but, yeah. So is there any other specific questions, or you just wanna go through section by section?
It wasn't in the one I sent you. I saw you highlighted it, but yeah.
Gotcha.
It's
Because I was
good.
just gonna ask you, how many square foot? So 15 is kind of big.
Yeah,
That's pretty big.
based on the way that they use it though, right? It's basically PE indoors, so playing games in there.
Assemblies for the great room?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the concert, like the winter concerts and.
Or the May fairs the last couple of years, because we've had torrential rains. And we had to use this great room for May fairs.
And it is our gym, but
And, yeah.
for games. But there's a gym section we don't use that's
Well, they said
over
they got
like
us
for,
400 square feet.
on the side for games, I guess.
And that's kind of storage-ish sometimes.
Storage is after school,
What is, you mean the
Program.
Strawberry Wall?
yeah,
On that far side or on this side?
the far side.
Okay,
Yeah, and then there's the storage over on that side.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That little like cutout over here, we don't need
Yeah,
it
that
all,
cutout, that's not,
just a clutter.
I think that's separate from that 6,000 square
Yeah.
feet.
okay, I was gonna ask that too, if that was included with the
I
great
think we
area
call that
space.
storage and the rest of it great when we.
So is there any other areas, I guess, my other, you tell me, you wanna go section by West Fork, that's for you.
Let's jump and then we can go through it.
Is there any other areas that are significantly different than what we have now? Like if we're looking at admin, is that 3360 pretty similar to what we have now?
It's actually a little more efficient than what you have now.
Okay, so it's a little smaller.
Correct. And let's just go through that, since we're there.
Okay.
The reception and waiting area, 400 square feet is pretty much exactly what you have now. The front desk office, 175 is pretty much exactly what you have now. You don't have an open office currently. And this was one that was listed in your basic needs summary. And then I think I had a discussion with some folks when I was here for the faculty and staff tours who could live in there. It sounds like maybe receptionist, registrar, and business manager. I will tell you that I heard some thumbs up on that, and I don't remember. I think it was a staff member who gave me some thumbs down on that. I can't live in an open office area because it's too noisy, something like that. So you don't currently have an open office, but attendance is a small class, or excuse me, a small office. That is a little bit smaller than what is currently the attendance office. Director's office is pretty much exactly what Susan has now. The assistant director's office is about what is around the corner there near the beverage station. I don't believe that you have confidential record storage currently. And that could be an item that could be a lockable cabinet instead of a storage closet. Sometimes we do it both ways, but that 100 square feet could be on the chopping block.
Our confidential storage is inside the
IT room.
tech room.
Okay.
It's been used for that. It's huge compared to the servers they had here at one point.
Yeah.
So that's a room we really don't need much.
Okay.
Can you repeat that, Susan? Because I didn't hear where the confidential files were.
The confidential files are in the IT closet.
Okay.
Where the servers used to be on the end of the great room. And that's where they're stored now, just because that's our most secure spot, but.
So I'm wondering where they're gonna be in the new building.
They would be in an admin area.
Admin area. Okay, thank you.
So in the basic needs, I think we didn't have maybe an attendance as a separate office. That was one of the open spaces at, correct? And we had four offices, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And so in coming to a site visit was the attendance that came up as needed to be separate. That's why it's listed.
Yeah, there were discussions about, and I'm gonna blank on her name, forgive me, but she comes up to the front, sits at the front desk,
Yeah.
works there, yes. And then goes back to another location. Do I have that right? Okay, so she has a separate location. She's not just sitting at the front office, front desk area.
Yeah, she covers a couple of other
Yeah.
things like behavior for first through fifth or K through fifth. So
Got it.
that's helpful for her to have a quiet space to talk to kids.
Okay.
She has
Her home, so to speak, her office is currently where then?
office is the right
Second
is
door.
the first door, yeah.
Okay.
Second door.
Just past that conference room right there. That's the first one past that conference room.
So she covers the front reception area in the morning up until 10 o'clock, and then she goes into her office and does the rest of her work.
Gotcha. And were you saying that, Tricia, because you were thinking that attendance could be an open office?
Yeah, that's what
Got
when we did the basic needs, that's kind of where we had,
Okay.
we only had 4 offices and that wasn't one of them. So I just was wondering if it came up that in discovery as you were visiting the site that.
No, I don't believe that there was a specific request for an individual office.
Yeah.
The adjacency was mostly the thing because they need to be watching who's coming through the.
Another thing I want to add, I'm wondering if there's going to be an AIDS office for the AIDS. That is not included on any of this.
Like as a work area, or what would I guess the purpose of should we see where
The
that?
purpose of the area is basically where we keep our things. So at the site we have now, our confidential files are in there. And that is the space that we are allowed to go in, and we have our own offices and we have our own desk, our own computer, our own space.
Got it. So it wouldn't necessarily be part of the staff lounge because it's like a workspace because you don't have a classroom you're in all the time.
Not necessarily. So the staff lounge isn't actually used as much as you guys think.
Yeah. It's used not as much?
Not as much.
Oh, yeah, I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Since COVID,
Yeah.
people just don't go in there.
Sometimes
Okay.
we
Doesn't mean we
do,
don't need one though.
Yeah.
sometimes we do what's called hotspots, that's what we call it. But they're small desks that somebody could sit down in, either floating faculty, visiting from somewhere else perhaps, or aides. They can live in an open office area pretty easily and be pretty.
That would be
space
amazing for even substitutes.
efficient. Sure. Okay.
So,
We've done something similar to that too, where we call it benching. So we'll have a workstation that multiple people that are itinerant can use. And we buy a piece of rolling furniture, like a small filing cabinet that's locked. And so that individual has their spot. They just roll it up to the desk and they have their stuff. And then it goes up against the wall. And when the next person comes in that needs to use the space, they get theirs, so that it's kind of like
they
their
can put
own.
their personal stuff,
Right.
their confidential files in there.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this-
And it moves.
Mhm.
So it's
The
mobile.
space we have for the aides office is bigger than it needs to be, because there's never more than one or two people there.
Yeah, I also want to introduce our ELOP program where we do not have space for, and we could use our storage space as well. But I also need to implicate that we do have these after school programs that a lot of parents are utilizing, and that we do need space for that as well. So I just want to put that out there.
So that one on the existing plans was labeled as ELD, ELA intervention, which we do have inside of this program.
Okay.
Or could the ELOP storage be part of the storage that's in the great room? Like, 'cause that's what we kind of do.
You have
don't
a
we?
wall there?
No, not the closet right there, by the piano.
Yeah.
Is that what Sean was referring to?
Okay.
After school.
Excuse me, I couldn't quite hear. I thought she said ELD. Okay.
Yeah, the program.
So Sean, is it just for storage, like for after school program or what? Like what
Well,
would this be?
So I want to just express that there is some things that we actually need space for. We actually need space for woodworking. We actually need space for recreate recycling. There's certain things that we actually need space for to store things that aren't going to be messed with because of the grant that we have. And we have to utilize that grant, and we have to utilize those hours, and we have to fill all of that. So we do need a tiny space or a classroom or maybe a storage shed.
So in the grant, you're saying it's written that we have to show separation between regular class materials versus extended learning materials?
For the ELOP, absolutely, for the grant.
That makes sense.
Right now,
Yes.
it's more of a storage room, it's all big pile of stuff.
So we just-
Anybody can go through it.
It just needs to be, so a storage
Like a
area,
council room would be all right.
yeah.
Because we store the food for it and everything.
So
We can hold camps and after school programs in a classroom, but we also need to have a place where we can have our our stuff that is safe for ELOP and summer camps or whatnot.
So designated storage space is an important avenue that we need to address. We have a lot of spaces where people just shove stuff. We have a big building, so You go in a room and, oh, here's a microwave that nobody ever knew where it was, and suddenly it's grown into this room. So we have a couple of rooms like that. So that, what Sean is expressing is that need for controlled storage and organized storage is a big need. Because we shove things in any corner we can find.
That's a good one.
And so moving from here will be interesting as we only take what we need. And when we purge.
We'll have a couple
yeah.
purging days.
But you're gonna have that kind of comment because we currently, I don't have to try to we currently do not have really well-organized space except inside the classrooms where the teachers live.
Got it.
They manage their space very well. So that's, and then we have the fact that we need props for the plays that we're doing this month. And, you know, so it gets.
On some of those props.
Yes, thank you, Susan, for
Yeah.
elaborating. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, we use the over
Yeah.
and over and over again, same props.
Yeah,
And all that. So you're gonna, so you will hear that. We need to think about it because,
Great.
yeah, because it needs to get better, that storage process.
Buck, I think I heard you compare, maybe was it to a parent council room
Yeah.
about that size?
Yeah, there's a little closet right here in the fair room. That's a
He's just
closet.
trying to get a square footage.
Gotcha. Yeah, just an idea of what we're doing.
So Sean, would something like the PC closet be enough space to store? Like, what we're looking for size wise?
Yes,
Is that on this side?
or an extra classroom.
Between the admin and the grade.
Well, when
Classrooms.
when it comes to certain clubs, they can fill the entire classroom.
I don't
So-
see it.
A storage area would be much more accessible, and maybe an outdoor area to do crafts and do woodworking and whatnot for after school programs would be more efficient instead of doing it inside of classrooms that we have to go into after school.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we have it and to do a whole nother classroom for the after-school program that's not a multi-use, but.
No, but a storage classroom that the after school program instructors can go into, grab their things, and then
Yeah.
they can utilize a classroom. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, yes, yeah, okay.
Do you have ELOP funding?
Is that good?
That would help.
Yes, we have ELOP funding and
Can you pay for with your ELOP?
have ELOP hours that we have to abide by.
So with that grant, we can put that towards making the storage.
Absolutely.
Okay. So can we go back to attendance, sorry? Do we need a separate attendance office, or if he's doing behavior stuff, can the conference, I'm just trying to think like, what can we cut out? Like, can that be?
Well, if we combine her with the rest of the
The
open
open
space, is it gonna save us anything? She has 100 for them, you have 300 for 3 other people.
Yeah, 100 square feet is a 10 by 10 office, and that's a little
Okay.
more than the minimum. We can be more efficient by putting your open office. in there.
And then utilize the conference room if there's behavior stuff. I think how we're gonna chip this down is not finding 600 square feet in one spot, it's like
Yeah,
little probably.
totally.
Yeah.
And I should have said it when we first started. We're always high on our first draft of
Sure,
program
yeah.
space needs.
Everything's on here, right?
We'll
Yeah.
get
All
there.
the possibilities are here.
Okay, so that's a possible,
Correct.
okay.
I have a quick question before I move on in that admin for the confidential storage space. I know you guys said currently you guys have it in the tech room. Is that 100 square feet? Is that comparable, do you think, to what we
It's-
have now?
It's not, the IT closet is about 350 square feet.
But it's bigger than they need.
Oh,
I am not even sure we need a tech closet.
Yeah.
All of our servers are offsite with BCOE down, so we don't really have that.
Yeah,
So down on,
So what's in there is old equipment and boxes.
But
So
you're
it's
gonna
a
need
big-
IDFs and
Yes.
MCLs still.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure a specific IT room is necessary. Do you agree with that, Bud? Or-
Could it be whatever we have in this confidential storage closet and all, just all one?
I think so.
Can we
Typically-
consolidate it?
I think
As
so.
long as the fire.
Yeah, that's the one thing. So in new building design, whether it's a school or an office building or whatever, we have to often provide something that's called an MPOE, a multiple point of entry room. So that's where your fire alarm, that's where your control panels are at. We'll need that 100 square feet.
Okay.
I have it labeled under O2, or sorry, 124 as IT closet. That 100 square feet will be used for something else for building infrastructure. So
Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, and we have the other, where the fire alarm thing is another room. That is not called the IT room, but it has the fire.
the
panel and
modem.
stuff.
Oh,
It's a storage.
got it. Yeah, currently, I mean, not that this really makes a difference for this, but you have a location where you have a modem and routers and wireless access points coming through. Does that live in somebody's office? Is it on a?
It's in our electrical hub.
Okay,
The water room, I forget what it's called right now.
back in this corner.
Yeah, the regular office.
Cool. Sounds good.
It's called.
How about 118, the school supplies closet? That's not something that you currently have, if I remember correctly.
That's the fire, yeah.
We use it for the fire room for the school supply. What do you think?
Which one?
Miss Maggie.
118.
It's right after the confidential storage. one I
Oh,
was
okay.
talking about.
Yeah. Oh, got it, yeah. Oh, I put on here, yeah. Got it, okay.
What's the question? Or
I didn't know that the fire riser room was playing double duty, but
fire
I didn't think that you had one, but if you need it.
We do, it's a couple of, it's like a third of the room, the fire room, would you say?
Yeah.
It's about a third of that space.
Yeah.
One wall just has big shelves on it.
Yeah.
Lots of
Just a wall of
paints and things.
Okay.
The doctor's.
And
Sounds
paper.
like we need an organizer
We do.
and a label maker.
That room is very.
I'll check your fire riser closet and see if a third of it is about 100 square feet.
Just a wall.
It's, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be one that could live in another spot. If it is just a lockable cabinet or something.
It could be just a lockable cabinet.
That's all it is.
And same for the confidential storage closet, right? We said that could be a lockable cabinet too within the admin space. We don't necessarily need a whole storage room.
I don't know about
Are we still
that
keeping paper files?
Yeah.
There's a lot of paper files still.
We are,
So-
because, we don't have everything in an electronic,
But-
we don't
Yeah.
have,
So first there might be some,
there's
Well,
student
necessities,
we're
yeah.
talking about student records, and also business records
financials.
and, charter council, things like that.
It's quite possible we could, if we spend some time on it, we had some time to spend on it, we could reduce the amount of paper storage.
Is there like a
Did I
time
say how many
period?
years do you
Yeah.
have archived in there?
Well, we were in 2004 very gratefully last week.
Oh.
So now I'm not like, well,
Yeah.
I have
Nice to
that sort of
have.
the kind of thing, just as soon as you want to purge, then something comes up and you go, oh my gosh, I'm glad we haven't purged yet.
Sounds like me going to my store with all the kids is.
It is, it's all the same, yeah, it's all the same.
No, I think it could be whittled down for sure, but, to just not have a place for it at all, or to
Having
think,
that
or
cabinet.
to think,
You know,
that you
yeah.
can reduce it to a closet
So there's a
is
fair
not,
amount.
I don't think
Okay.
that's realistic.
The thing, and I've seen them, stored in all over places in schools, so it's not like we have to have something that says that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we don't have to
But
have
it does
a
need to be
room.
secure with its own key that
Yeah.
nobody else can
Yeah.
copy. It needs to be that kind of secure location, which the IT room works very well for us right now, even though it's too big. So, I probably wouldn't want to go to like one of the big black cabinets. I would want it more secure if we can do that.
Is that for 01, 02, 04?
07, confidential storage closet.
Can I ask what the closet is?
It's the IT room,
Oh, okay.
technology room. It used to have like
Server.
a huge servers in it. This
Oh,
was
okay.
billing facilities.
Batteries.
Go ahead. Lots of
Batteries to
things.
run server.
We haven't really used it for that since the fire when we went to BCOE first.
Are there any big ones that you see as opportunities for the year coming that we should?
I do have
discussion?
some, but
Okay,
later on down the line.
Okay.
Nothing
Okay.
too much in admin.
Okay.
I think with the office sizes that we're proposing here and the layout is about as efficient as we can.
yeah, so moving on to the next kind of.
So I'm questioning, and ask Karen and Maggie and Bob to chime in. Do we need both a small conference room and a large conference room for administration? Because my office is one room that I use a lot for meetings of up to 6 people. So we have that already. We have the assistant director's office where she will meet with individuals, with kids and parents and stuff. So that's just my question. Do we need those two?
What I would suggest is, if the answer is maybe or even yes, let's put a mark by that one, because what I want to do.
It is a yes, actually, through special education requirements, we need to have 2 conference rooms. One has to be completely for, the area for annual IEP program meetings. So that is by law a requirement. So we do need to have 2 conference rooms, one small, one large.
Could it be separate from the offices that,
I'm not,
like, her office could be a conference room as well as that be a designated
Well, could
conference room?
I don't-
we use,
I don't
we
know
had
that
suggested
role.
using the library for like board meetings and whatnot, could that possibly be used as a conference area space, as the dual usage?
Yeah, that's where we do IEPs now.
yeah,
so-
I'm not sure I'm understanding
Okay.
the rule that's used.
Okay, so we'll put,
We're just gonna have to check the CDC and EDC requirements for special ed for the IUP meetings.
Well, we do have to have a separate, confidential room for IEP meetings.
Absolutely.
I'm just not sure why we do the second. So
it has to be only for IEP, yeah.
Well, it's not only for.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
We use
It has to
this
be
room for
confidential.
IEP.
Yeah.
During
now,
that
yeah.
duration.
And all of our special ed
Yeah.
meetings just happen in
It's
this room that we're in right now, so. I
Okay.
don't know that it needs to be
I
specifically
can-
labeled as such.
I don't know, we do also use it sometimes for for the on-site suspensions. So we would need to think about that.
We also have visiting counselors that come
So we have one
frequently.
conference room now?
We have one conference room that is doubling as a storage area for our,
For the
um,
food pantry.
our food
Yeah.
that we
In the
have
office
for
there.
families
Yeah.
and donations.
Mm-hmm.
We use that room for when counselors visit us and they need to meet with a student privately. That's used daily for that.
But we just have one now.
We just have
So
one
if we
in
had
the
one
admin hall
storage
right
for
now.
the other things.
We move that to, yeah, so
Yeah.
Okay.
I am, yeah, if so, I don't know, maybe we do need
Absolutely.
that.
And and what would the other just storage be for in the administration?
So, the closet that comes off the great room, I didn't understand the use for that, but now that I know.
Oh, it's the PC closet.
Yeah, our council closet,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Correct.
let's say definitely.
Yes, yeah, that's definitely needed.
So I guess on the conference room topic, I think that that's one spot where I thought we could probably find some efficiencies. In my opinion, and you may have been alluding to this, Susan, a small conference room, unless it's used for dual purpose like the pantry right now, I understand that students were hanging out in there sometimes, maybe waiting for parents to come, whatever. Those small areas have a way of getting used, but there's so many other small areas that could be used for that same purpose. I started to do it. I was crossing off the small conference room because I think that use can find its way into other spots throughout campus. The large conference room is also one thing that I think could be shared, much like we're in this room right now. Further on in the, it's at the bottom of the page, community resources room. That was something that was described to me as a place where parents might be able to come in, fill out job applications, for example, maybe a small computer setup. That one was a spot where I knew there could be a shared space. So is your large conference room perhaps also your community resources room? And then there's some other ones that maybe they could all kind of live together.
That was actually something that we had in previous years, that we had a room that was community available to parents. And if we schedule it right, we can actually have meetings in there as well.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. I am not sure what you have under guidance. What is that?
So we separated that out. Right now, as I understand it, the community coordinator lives in the admin wing here down on the right. That would be their office. And then the community resources room was described to me by her, and I'm going to forget her name, I'm sorry. But it was a space that she felt very strongly about. I'm not sure if she's described it to anybody else, but that was the community resources area that could be used by parents at large.
And you're saying like maybe that in the large conference room, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so previous years, that was a serious space for parents.
And we do need some serious. So my understanding of what Karen was asking for was a community resource room with her office off of it. I didn't have that she was asking for another. Am I confused?
I have my notes from her comments.
You mean like she needs one in the admin and one over here?
No, she doesn't need one in the admin.
Yeah, I don't think there is one up here.
No.
No. Yeah.
So the guidance is what you're calling the community resource space overall.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm understanding. Never mind.
No problem. For what it's worth, Karen had described a centralized space for community engagement, job applications, parent education, storage needs for lockable cabinets, for education tools, community resources, public computer stations with secure doors, comfortable seating for parents, perhaps modular tables for workshops and flexible usage.
Absolutely.
We could even have a big lockable, rolling closet for the pantry located in that area too, since, that's a family.
So I'm
oriented.
of course like the idea of having space for parents, but we're talking about another conference area, actually, from the school-wide perspective, even if it's focused on parents.
Got it.
So,
Instead of the resource room, you're saying?
no, I'm just conceptualizing that that'll be a room for parents to meet. So it'll be focused on parents. So if we're having like donuts with the director, we could
You can
have
have
it
it
there.
there.
So there's a lot of,
Yeah.
a lot of different uses for the space that she's describing to you.
Perfect.
So,
So for our next round, I'm going to propose that the large conference room gets combined with that sort of community resources room function.
Do you think you do them separately?
I'm concerned with the more formal parent room meetings like IEPs and SSTs, that we need a little more formal space for that. So I would like a large conference room for that. And I'm thinking about how many people we sometimes have in IEPs. And it might need to be a little bit larger to cover IEPs.
The large conference room that's proposed was requested in this need summary from your folks is a space for 8, so it's only 260 square feet. It's not large.
We might,
You're probably right around 8.
yeah, 8 or 10 might be.
Yeah.
And then
When we start to
IEPs.
get like different levels of service, like the OT and the speech, and then it can get bigger. So maybe 10 for IP for those bigger formal
But in
meetings.
having the community resources a more shared space, a small conference.
Yeah, utilize space for more things is more profitable. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, so we'll keep large conference separate and the community resources room is good. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, we got through page 1. Good team.
So on the admin support, the faculty, sorry, we did not yet, faculty lounge in the workroom.
Yeah.
So the workroom is a copier inside, okay,
Right.
and the faculty lounge is separate from the teacher? Or is that together?
So we had heard a lot of requests for the lounge and the workroom to be separated.
Oh, yes,
especially
yes,
if
yes,
you-
but that is like for all teachers,
So
staff,
it's
everybody.
a staff lounge really rather than that.
Okay,
That's a great
okay,
point.
okay, okay, that's what I was trying to.
Sure.
I didn't know if faculty were wanting their own lounge.
I didn't hear that request. I could be wrong.
I haven't heard it, I'm not gonna ask the question.
I have some input on the faculty lounge, and I don't feel like it's utilized as much as we should use it. Because we're working so hard and we're working double time. So maybe it could be a little bit smaller, but a little bit more uplifted, like maybe with an espresso machine.
Yeah.
I heard that since it's such a dual use space, people are working in.
It really is. And we could just use a smaller space to just kind of pop into and pop out.
Gotcha.
Okay.
If we make it nice enough, they'll want to go. And it's like, why do I wanna sit here next to the photocopier and eat my lunch?
Okay, you guys.
Build it.
Just saying.
If you build it, they will come.
Yes.
Okay, now we just help.
Yes, so the nurse's office, right now, the exam or cot area is inside the office. It could be, that seems to work just fine. We also heard the request for a health restroom, so we have those three listed there.
How big is the health office right now?
That's what I was actually trying to find, and it
It's not
always
that big.
kids because it's
It's
labeled.
smaller than mine, and mine is 200. It's not as big as the space you have.
It's huge. Right now it's at 150 square feet. Which, you know, this is based off of other schools that I've done in the past where they do have a dedicated. Yeah.
The-
If that works
versus
for
the
you,
two proposed?
correct.
Oh, 2 plus 150 for a cot.
Correct.
350, so we're increasing the size.
Does she use all the space?
Oh, she uses all the space there.
Does it work having them combined in an office, or do they need to be separate? Separate.
They do need to be separate.
Yeah, I think so, because health
Yeah.
reasons what we do.
Yeah.
She should not be having to stay in the room with a kid with 102 fever.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
While she works. That's what they're saying.
So maybe what we
She
could
stays
do
pretty
is,
healthy, but.
Yeah.
the nurse office's size currently at about 200 square feet, with the intent that somebody could be brought in, whether it's parents or student, and actually talking in the office setting, not actually only in the exam area. But that could be smaller. If we didn't think that she was gonna have multiple people in there, we could knock that down to 100 square feet or something.
Yeah, and then if they're gonna talk, they could be in the exam area.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We'll propose it.
Okay.
I'm glad that they have a health restroom. That's,
I heard that is a pretty strong request.
Yeah, I would think so.
And it's a little bit bigger than the others. We heard the request for a shower, so we were thinking about that in that room, but I don't know if that's something that's absolutely necessary.
I mean, I could see where it would
I mean, I
maybe
could see maybe
be
a
helpful,
sink,
but
Okay.
I mean,
I don't know if you utilize it.
but I
well,
don't
let
know.
me.
Maybe an
think
eye
about it.
wash station, but not.
Yeah, that's what I said, maybe
shower.
the sink,
I
maybe
think-
the sink or something like
Yeah,
that.
let's,
Just another thing to clean.
yeah.
I don't
We'll have our
know.
own perspective.
let's think about it.
Ours have turned into storage.
The showers,
Yes,
Yeah.
for their
The shower?
in the nurse's office,
For that.
or in the health restroom.
You're like, okay, guys, you gotta
But then,
go.
well, yeah, but then they,
Can we get some bidets in the staff lounge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Right,
that's-
that's-
Where's the
that's-
sauna too?
Let's do- think it through.
Unless you direct me otherwise, I will err on the side of being conservative here, and I will cross it out
Yeah,
at the shower.
Yeah.
If somebody wants it, please.
Advocate for it.
sure, absolutely.
I just did, she told me, and I went.
Okay.
Support services from psychologists down, any thoughts there?
Do we have it? Office next, or?
We have a closet.
Like,
Closet on the corner
And
between.
Oh, right.
That's me.
It's so tiny.
It's now the psychologist.
Psychologist office.
She used to be up here in the nice office. She needs a place to do assessments.
Yeah.
Oh, Rachel said-
So not in the I thought those assessments were done in the conference room. Oh.
No.
Not the
Resource
sped,
specialist?
because they take like days, so I would like, I would have no time for anything else.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, if we did it that way. And if you have an office for the psychologist, we can also support some extra special education space too, so.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Doesn't say for.
We're
psychologist.
required to have a psychologist and 2 counseling rooms.
Office area for psychologist counseling programs, which provides for confidentiality. Um,
And that's super important when it comes to IEPs and behavioral situation.
the only space
So what about the size of the wellness room?
It's huge.
is being.
500 square feet. Well, now I know it's like nine,
It's
it's like a
huge.
class, like a class.
Yeah,
it's.
What is a
Yeah.
resource specialist? What is that? RSP? resource-
Special education specialist.
It's it's an older term for,
Education
a
specialist, special ed teacher.
It's a resource specialist is what it, so they would have a resource room, so it's tier 1. It's, yeah. Like this, so we have the special education classroom. Where do we have?
We have
Down
that
at the
there.
bottom of support
It could be-
services.
Yeah,
It could be
support
the
services.
Well-
So,
Counseling for largest.
Oh, we have it.
so so right now with a counseling room at 400 square feet and a wellness room of 500 square feet.
Those are 2 that I thought might be an interesting spot for some efficiencies.
And intervention is Abigail.
We have to have 2 counselor spots, 1 speech specialist, 1 psychologist, 1 private, extremely private conference center, and another conference center for annual IEPs.
Do those conference centers have to be separate?
But they can be
Can they
shared
be
spaces.
shared dual?
No, actually, I don't think they can. You might have to look up the ADA regulations because it does say that you need 2 rooms. It says that you need 1 conference area for annual IEP program meetings, and you also need 1 room for conference meetings. So that can be like in the administrative office, the conference meetings, and then the IEP meetings can be in a different support area.
In the conference, large conference room would be great.
Yes. Yeah, and we have the large conference room.
But we need to have a separate room for the psychologist, a separate room for the speech specialist, and we also need to have a room for our actual sped specialist.
Yeah, we do have that under support services.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if you scroll down,
Yeah,
so you
sorry.
can see it now.
So maybe
Yeah.
that's what we do.
And then,
So that's the ADA and the EDC regulations, and I just want to make sure that we are on top of that because special ed is important to me. Those kids are important to me. The width of the doorways are important to me. And if we build a new school, we're expecting new students and new families to enroll in our school and entrust their kids with us. And we need to be able to take those wheelchairs out every single door and push those wheelchairs inside every single door.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to do that with
Yeah.
code. There's no question about whether
Yeah.
that's happening or not.
Yeah.
There's no question about it at all because it's the law.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And part of paying a professional to do this kind of design is to make sure that they know those rules.
Absolutely.
There are things that we cannot change and they will not let us change it.
They will
So-
not let these changes happen.
So for the wellness room and the counseling room, we're thinking we can make those maybe smaller.
I
It sounds
think possibly so.
Because so over here, we said we need to be able to fit 5 people in the wellness room. Like, but is it a classroom setting where there's like big tables, or it's more of like
It's supposed to be individualized where they each
No,
have-
it's an individualized de-escalation area.
Yeah,
And if I understand the function of that space well enough, there is different stations, if I remember right. There's the sensory area here, there's a play area here with toys and puzzles. But it's also used for not after school, but groups, right? There's
It is used for that, absolutely. It's used for many different things.
Could clubs meet in another shared
So
location?
they can meet somewhere else. The wellness room and working with the staff members, the certified staff members that went to the trainings. Our wellness room is not set up like a wellness room.
Interesting.
And the idea of having separate de-escalation areas, so a child so we don't have 2 children coming in escalated and ending up together, continuing their escalation. So there are some plans going on with Ashley and Sarah Evelyn and others who have been engaged with that work to change that space. But our space that we have is the size of the classroom.
Yeah.
So right now, it's a lot bigger than it needs to be. So you've cut it, not quite in half, and I would want to go back to Ashley and Sarah and talk about what they really need the wellness room to be. And then the counselor, that may appropriate because she has groups in there on a regular basis. So
did
she
you talk
brings
to them
in-
at all yet?
That's absolutely a good point, Susan. Thank you so much for saying that.
What's her thoughts on that?
So Ashley is the wellness?
Ashley is in charge of the wellness room, yeah. She's our counselor.
She loved the size of her
Her current?
yeah.
So
Yeah,
she's like,
Everybody loves a walk-in closet.
So it's significantly larger than what I mean, it's like a
Yeah.
classroom
Absolutely.
and counselors are in the classroom.
So right now it's about 900 square feet that she's
Yeah.
currently in. I took a stab at it and said, what if we cut it in half? But if it needs to be a true counselor's office, even that is too hard.
It can be cut in half for sure, or it can be put into the counseling office, and half of it can be the counseling office and half of it can be the wellness room.
So I'm gonna
We'll go back.
ask if you just would let me check in with them as to what they really need for
That
a
sounds good.
wellness room. And that size for the counselor room may be pretty close. We might be able to cut it another 100.
Okay.
Because she does have regular groups in there, but
Should be right.
yeah.
Yeah, well, and there could be people in the wellness room, so you can't necessarily do that if you have a couple people in there.
Yeah, she can't do both.
Yeah.
I mean, we need 2 separate rooms. I'm just not sure.
Well, but like I'm saying, if that was, the counseling room was smaller, could she?
They could be smaller, exactly, Trisha. Yeah.
I'll work on talking.
Okay,
Thank you.
what about intervention? I mean, that seems like you can't do a whole lot smaller than that for
No.
the amount of people
She
that,
also teaches
like
math
reading groups
there,
and
yeah.
all that.
That's, yeah.
Is room 8, it was described on the maps that I've seen, the ELD, ELA intervention. Is that the same thing? In the basic needs summary or
Yes, it would be the
request?
same person, the same meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a smaller room.
It's.
It is a
yeah.
smaller
So it's currently at 700 square feet, does that sound about right? Okay. I based this off of my understanding of what intervention rooms typically are, and other schools we've done, 300 square feet's about normal. But I don't know if the
I-
700 is what you need.
No, I think she's not using it.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we've expanded into the rooms that we have.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah,
She's
class
not,
size of
you
8.
know, so we've actually put so the ELA room is now in a different place there. She uses a classroom, but her biggest groups are about 6 to 8 kids, so I think you're fine.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Special education, we up that to 1350 per CDE requirements.
Okay.
The great room. Yeah, I had thoughts about that. I mean, it's your multi-purpose room. It does so much for you. I had a thought of, could any of that function be held outside under a covered area perhaps? But I don't know.
can I say something real quick? Because the speech room does not usually have more than 10 kids. Usually only has a small group of kids.
We're putting the speech room down as 100 square feet, which is really space for only a couple of kids.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, again, she has a nice big classroom right now because that's what's available.
Right now, yeah, that's what I was trying to express. So yeah, I was just trying to figure that out.
Yeah, on this list, it's under 0203 support services, the second one down.
So the great room, could it be like smaller and then hold some of those functions outside?
But if the controlling thing is winter concert or Mayfair, and you need to
We
fill
had room
forward
stuff. We just had a concert. And it was
January.
Yeah. Standing room.
So 400 square feet, I saw was the request. 15 square feet per person is what we would think for a function kind of like that. But that's tables and chairs. If
Chairs.
Just chairs.
What is it now?
it's 6,000 square feet.
We use this room for
Current?
food.
Current is a little bit 6100.
So that's for like
Okay.
a seated assembly.
So we would actually, we would say that about 9 square feet per occupant could be for chairs only. About 7 square feet per occupant if it was standing room, like a concert. And then distributed seating, kind of like a banquet event, tables and chairs,
A separation for people to move between the tables.
would be 15 square feet.
And does that account for like the stage area, like?
That's what's pushing me towards.
Yeah. Okay.
How many people do you think were in the winter concert?
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the time
No
you
more
take a
than the
stage.
firework one.
Good answer.
It's still on that sign.
Where that sign says.
Where the sign says is what we.
Is what we had.
I'm just kidding.
Or screaming.
So,
Harvey, you have 220 kids and you gotta
So
figure at
two-
least,
people
you have
per kid,
2 to
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, well,
4 people.
so generally the kindergartners are not
That's
engaged
true.
in that, so it's, it's gonna be 280 or so max.
180.
Right.
What do you mean?
Uh,
Oh,
for-
280 if we're at full, okay.
If we're at
fine.
300 plus,
Okay,
I'm
Yeah,
thinking
I'm with you.
somewhere around 280 and everybody brings their grandparent.
Yeah.
Well, there's almost
So
200
it's-
chairs.
Yeah.
And I cut all 200, or a
Yeah,
little over
out.
200 chairs out.
And there was.
Yeah.
And there were
standing.
people standing.
Yeah.
I know.
Something that
The design of the space is not the best for concerts because of its
Yeah.
long
Long,
skinniness.
Yeah.
So part of that is also, when we look at how much we can fit, it's like, well, we have kids sitting over there because you can't have the parents sitting anyway.
Yeah.
So I think when
Yeah, we
we
don't
look at how,
utilize a good.
when
portion of it
you look
because
at how
of
we're utilizing the space, I think we might be able to do something different
Sure.
And with
than what
that,
we have now.
with that 61, is that including this little area here? Okay.
So, and then like we use this room for food.
Yeah.
And
So
now you're talking about a great room kitchenette, which is, so instead of the parents having to use this room, they could have actual space.
Yeah.
And nice to have like a little sink in there and stuff like that, so they could have access to water.
Yeah.
Would be nice.
One thing that I'm thinking about is the concept I've pitched to y'all a couple meetings ago, if the music room could actually function as a performance area for the great room. Somehow they're connected either by a sliding partition or something. If current student population and parents and folks will barely fit in the great room right now, by the time you're at capacity, I think the stage or the choir risers need to find a different place to live. 6,000 square feet is not enough to have an entire school-wide assembly for 320 max students. So
Well, the kindergartners and the TK,
they're not part of it.
they're not part of this
Sure.
other stuff.
And you said about 280 plus figure what, 2 to
Without
3
kindergarten.
people per student.
Yeah, kindergartner is about 60, I mean, around 60, so it would be about 280. And again, plus their families, so would
I think if you figure on 2 per kid, because we have some that, that's probably average, right?
Some families about 6.
Yeah.
So it's kind of.
Yeah, it's a big variance.
I kind of like his idea though of making them,
Yeah.
so then when that space was opened up, then you've got all of that to use.
Yeah.
She could use it part as a classroom and have her risers and stuff up, which she has right now, practice on and everything. And then that wall can go away and that can all get turned around and be used like a.
Like a big kind of temporary pull-out
Yeah.
wall like that. Yeah, I remember that when I was a kid, it was stuff like that.
It's a good way to use space, but those.
I do love that idea. She has the risers up in her room right now for choir, and it actually escalates their voices and whatnot. So if you guys walked into their room to Emily's room today, she had the risers in her room.
Yeah. Very good. And it's, we talked about it, she's like, that could spread all of the middle schoolers apart. So. Like, I mean, it was funny. Anyway, so we have music classroom, and the next page we have both a music classroom and music rehearsal. A pretty significant amount of room.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
how would that change if we did this?
I think a couple things could happen. Back underneath the great room, the great room storage was our attempt at finding a place to put all tables and chairs and risers and whatnot. If risers can live in a classroom, maybe that gets a little smaller than 500 square feet. But that was also theater backstage and parent council event storage. I heard the need for set pieces to have a place to live.
And we added the parent council up here
Yeah,
under that admin too,
which is just about 100 square feet. I think.
150, yeah.
Okay. If that works, that's a lot less than 500 square feet. 500 square feet was basically, well, I guess I should ask, do you ever have tables, whether they're rounds or squares out in the great room?
Yeah.
And where do those live now?
There's folding tables, there's cafeteria.
Oh, but it's
Yeah.
small.
There's like a aquarium.
8 of them or so.
Okay. When I was here for a winter concert, there were some dividers in front of that kind of screen.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah, we just kind of hide.
Okay. It'd be nice to have a place to put those not in the great room. Am I thinking right?
There's no storage.
Okay. Maybe 500 is a bit generous for that then. I guess question then, great room, if we have a separate parent council event, would it has to be separate storage?
I think when they're saying, excuse me, parent council event storage, they're thinking about like the Harvest Festival stuff,
Yeah, 'cause
rather than
we-
actually
right
parent
now-
council, we don't call it parent
Yeah,
council.
Right now, we use that
Yeah.
outdoor storage and then the
Yeah.
And the
closet.
closet.
Yeah.
We have outdoor, we have outdoor storage and the closet.
Uh-huh.
Nothing's.
Going into your stuff, they definitely need spaces.
Definitely.
It needs to be separate, that other people can't go in and
Yeah.
do stuff.
For the
Yeah.
parent council
For
or
the
whatever?
parent
Yeah, so we
council.
wouldn't
Okay.
want
Yes.
kids to
You
go
don't want it
into a
combined.
room.
No.
Yeah.
where the
They
parent
put sodas and stuff left over from the last event, but sodas and.
Yeah.
Just, you know, parent council stuff, yeah,
Yeah.
parent stuff.
Okay, so then we won't combine them, but great room storage and stage storage, I would probably say, understanding how those are being used, those could become one and probably be a little smaller than 600 total.
Okay.
Talked about the kitchenette. The library, I had a question about that. The basic needs, the basic needs summary, the library was mentioned as being used for board meetings.
Yeah.
Is that our large conference room? I don't think so.
No,
How do you use the library for board meetings?
Room for public meetings like this one
Uh-huh.
needs to have room for both the board, which are 7 members of staff, and the public to come.
Gotcha.
They don't come very often.
We were trying to utilize, like not have to have a board room like this and just utilize the library for that.
Okay.
Like just multi-purpose.
Yeah, since libraries only used during school hours
Sure.
and
Yeah.
not all of school hours.
Have you ever tried to use the library as it currently is configured for board meetings?
No, but I've been in other schools where they use the library for.
It's at
where
the
we move
back of
things
the
around
school too.
and,
Yeah.
So. hard to do all the time.
yeah,
Okay.
and it's set up now for littles.
Yeah.
Go and do their reading groups and stuff.
Okay. So with a different furniture configuration and book stacks or
Yeah.
shelves, we
Yeah.
can,
And then this is significantly, the amount of space you've given is significantly more than we have in the library.
Yeah.
I think our library is
Yes.
full classroom size.
No.
that's correct.
Yeah.
So it's
Guide-
about 50 square feet for what you want.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I don't know if that's appropriate.
Yeah, maybe do we need it like more like a classroom size, so like 1,000 square feet? Would be able to do library and have tables in the middle of the board. That would.
I feel like the library needs to be separate.
I'm saying, if not less.
Yeah, for the library and the.
Oh.
Library needs to be separate and a parent educational conference room needs to be completely separate as well.
Okay,
Well,
that's how it's currently set up.
Sean's stuff, those kind of shows.
Yeah. She wants all of it.
That library, it could be smaller, like, I think.
well, we were trying to combine it and not have a
And,
separate
yeah.
board meeting room.
Multi-purpose.
So if we made it
shared
a little bit
spaces.
bigger. And then
So it would have open space.
to have, like the screen and table set up.
Why is it-
The only other option would be have it, if we look at this room, yeah, but so if
It
you
could just
had
be smaller.
more parents here, what
Oh,
would happen?
if there's one.
Yeah.
It's a board meeting,
Gotcha.
you
Yeah.
have to
So that'd be a.
big enough so the
everyone's like,
public
what?
can come, yeah. You know, if
Okay.
they don't
Even
come,
if it's just a little sign area.
then-
Actually.
yeah, and are they, and then the other thing is to use the great room.
That's what I was gonna say, the other thing.
If we had a
If
big,
we had a big meeting.
If we
it's like
had
lot
a
of people.
Yeah, we
larger
would have
meeting
that.
that would not facilitate that.
What if it goes to private?
Hmm?
Private to.
then we would leave and go to the conference room, that's what we've done in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
So do we think 1,000 square feet would be plenty of space then to have the library and a board?
I think so.
That's like a classroom, classrooms now are about 960, right?
Sounds
Yeah.
good. We just got 5 years.
Yeah, 2,000, I'm in, I mean.
Then we'd be asking back for it.
We'll take a look at, we haven't done schematic layouts yet because we're not there yet, but let me look at what a library could be with a board meeting set up to get you.
Yeah, and there's another idea,
Yeah.
you know, to utilize for the board meetings, we were just trying to not have a whole
Yeah.
separate room.
Sure,
And the conference room is a large one.
no, it's not. The cheapest way to do it is, I think what somebody suggested is do it in the great room.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Then your library stays at 750 or thereabouts what
Yeah.
it currently is, and we don't add square footage, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, that's a compromise, and I don't know if we're there yet. So.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to compromise the library.
No, we're not talking about.
We're not
getting rid of
talking
the
about
library.
that, we're
not
definitely keeping
compromising.
library.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a chapter book reading group teacher and I'm not willing to do that.
I mean, that's how other schools do it, like when I went, like the district does it in the big auditorium. I mean, I know you guys get more people but.
Right,
they
you just
do
have
it
like
in
a
the-
pull down.
It is an impact, it is an impact on the school.
For setup and
For,
stuff,
yeah,
yeah, and then the
and the
next day,
the equipment and the
Yeah.
furniture, it is, yeah, we make it work, but it's not ideal.
yeah,
Instead of a library, sometimes I've seen folks use a classroom.
Yeah.
It requires shifting tables around, right? That works too.
We
Or
used to have the board
consider
meetings
student
before we
desk.
had this build out. In the classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Classrooms. Yeah, when I got here, it was in the music room.
oh, yeah, we did have it, we
Yeah.
did move a lot of things. For our board meetings.
Where were we gonna fit them?
Okay,
Where are we at?
teaching and learning,
Early childhood.
Am I getting this right, that we have basically 3 rooms there? I
We
think
want
I
3 rooms there, yeah. I didn't realize that they were that much bigger than the classroom.
So by the time we put in a restroom in each of
Okay,
them,
so it's because it includes the restroom.
correct. And I heard the request, and this is actually the way that we would do it nowadays, is not have the restrooms be shared. Right now they're shared, and I heard that
Yeah.
that causes some problems.
Because it's, yeah, it does.
So 1350 includes that. And as Julie was kind enough to point out, the CD requirement is 1350 for those.
For kinder, with a bathroom,
Correct.
is 13.
That's the
Okay,
That's the
Okay.
minimum for
Well,
CD.
then that is what it is.
We do need to have separate bathrooms.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
so
there'll be
each of
bathrooms
those.
in the classroom.
And then we heard the comment from a lot of folks that the cloakrooms that were designed in the original classrooms don't really work as cloakrooms. They're kind of storage rooms, catch-all. type
Yeah,
stuff.
they are not using them as cloakrooms.
Okay. So I don't know if this works well or if it's even needed, but in each of these classroom sections, we have a dedicated storage area for them. It's only 200 square feet. It's not huge, but I don't know if that's something that works with the way that people store stuff for each grade.
For
So,
each grade, there's a designated storage.
Sorry, for each
Okay.
section.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
yeah, so
Thank
like
you.
one through
Whoa.
fifth and then 6 through 8. So for early childhood is 200 enough because they have all their food that they store because they're making all of that. So it's 200.
They have a refrigerator, they have a big giant storage rack that all their dry goods are on. Yeah, they have.
Is that in the
that's-
classrooms right
That's in
now?
one of the other classrooms right now.
Okay.
They have to go to it to get to it because it's not.
Oh, like the
inside
old
their
movement
classroom.
room?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you talk to the kindergarten teachers? Did they say whether they would want that stuff in their classrooms versus separate?
He has not been able to meet with Cheryl Grant yet.
You're in for a nice treat.
Yes, she,
I didn't meet with Karen.
yeah, you haven't met with Cheryl, because she keeps emailing me.
She came into my office before this meeting
I didn't
today.
see him today, okay.
When you and I went on the school tour with the parents, we went and saw a kindergarten classroom.
We did.
last night.
Uh-huh.
Was that Cheryl?
That's Cheryl.
Okay, she wants to talk.
Yes,
Gotcha. Okay.
so I would be, whether they want some of that in their classroom or whether they like having it separate. But I just know that they have a significant amount.
Right, they need,
More
I
than-
think 200 is way too much. mean,
I
it's-
feel that we need to have a cloakroom because of our emergency systems. And if there's intruders on program and our active shooter program that we go through every single year and our trainings that we go through, we have to have a separate area for the kids.
Couldn't there just be a temporary partition wall that could be accordioned up and pulled out in the
Our
classroom?
partition wall will not protect our children from shooting bullets.
Neither will actual walls, I mean, bullets go through.
Well, I'm
the
just saying
top.
that the way that we have been trained for active shooters, that we need to be prepared and we need to be on top and ready for these children. We need to have an extra wall.
Okay, so just before we go there, Sean, we were just talking about storage in kindergarten. So, I just want to, so we're gonna table that until you talk to Joe. I just want to make sure. Okay.
Sounds good.
If you give me some time so you're available,
Okay.
I'll arrange it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So.
So
Back and forth.
if we go to the elementary classroom for like the cloakroom, probably it's that separate space. Vicky's not here, but she had this great idea for storage, if we're talking about the storage, not as far as
Mhm.
security goes. Because we move classrooms, she
The
said they
rolling
had
idea.
this
Oh,
rolling
yes.
carts.
Yeah.
That she's used when she was a teacher in year-round schools because they switched classrooms.
That's right.
That's what, so I introduced that when I was talking to faculty and I said, hey, somebody told me about this, we talked about
Yeah,
it.
it was
and
Vicky, she's a board
She
member.
wasn't there, so
Yeah.
everybody said, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
She was saying it was basically like that one there, but, a lot
Much larger.
taller.
Yeah.
That's, similar.
Now, a lot of the
As far
teachers
as
have their
that.
own stuff that they carry 8 years of
Yeah.
stuff, and they
Yeah.
just keep it moving it.
First grade.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so there's a significant amount of things that are the teacher's personal, so to have it be in a common space for the lower grades or upper grades, I don't know how that would work.
That's why I brought it up, because
Yeah.
again, I'm not sure that it works with your
Yeah.
needs. But one thing, instead of maybe having a catch-all where currently there's, I think, 500 square feet, that's the junk room. Does that help to separate it out a little bit? So it's not a catch-all for everybody. Your grade levels are in charge of your storage area.
Like they have
Something
their
to think
own
about.
storage that's not in the classroom,
Correct.
maybe?
And not where, the microwave finds its way to.
Well, I just want to make everybody aware that the fact that the upper grades are completely not protected and the kindergartners are not protected by any kind of wall or storage facility in their rooms. On that side of the building, there is no cloakroom, there is no nothing. So the kindergartners and the middle schoolers are actually not protected at all. And I'm so sorry to bring this up, but I'm part of the crisis team, and this is very important to me.
John, no, we hear you on that, and we
Okay,
appreciate
great.
your input. We're just trying to figure out storage right now, we're not talking necessarily cloakroom or no cloakroom or walls or no walls. We're just
Oh,
trying to
okay.
figure out storage for teachers, so just, a thought, I think maybe if you have one big room, right, and they all have their own section, then we don't have to move it
Right.
every year.
Right, that's what I was
Which
thinking in my
I'm
mind.
like envisioning like in apartments where everybody has like
Yes.
their locked, their storage in the basement, but
Yeah.
I don't know, I just maybe because I help move every year, it's like, I'm like, really, you need
Yeah.
these books, we're in 6th grade, and they're like, yes, but eventually I'm gonna be back in 2nd grade, I'm like,
They
yes,
all
that's true.
are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and some teachers more than others, right, but they're definitely, I think, would want their own designated space, and it's not a community space.
Yes.
Yes, because things happen in community space.
But I also think they may appreciate it not all having to be in the classroom,
Yeah,
because then they know they're gonna have to move it, and it clutters it all up, right?
That's the expectation that. it's
And I know
not in
Kat
addition
loves
to-
moving it all every year.
It's not in addition
Every
to
single piece.
what they have.
I don't mean to bring up the worst case scenario, but that's exactly what I'm on point every single day. So I'm not trying to bring the worst case scenario to point, but I just want us to be aware
For for storage, or what? What are you talking
she's
about?
worried about the lockdown.
for the new campus.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
So is it a possibility that the teachers have a rolling cart that's full height with 2 doors that's lockable, and when they move classrooms, it just rolls?
Yeah, to the next.
I think that's what
Is-
we're talking about.
Is that enough storage, like one
Yes,
large?
right.
That was.
Or you could do more than one, more than one for those teachers? Because it's a whole lot cheaper to buy
Yeah.
furniture than it is to build.
Build a room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and
Love
maybe
that.
maybe your hallway is a little bit wider so that it can fit in the hallway or something, to be outside of the classroom, but
Yeah,
it's a whole lot
I
cheaper.
think it's definitely something to explore and show the teachers and see.
Yeah.
I think in practice, they would love it when it comes to
Yes.
yeah.
moving time, to have
Accessibility.
the ability just to put everything in it and have
Yeah.
so much of
Yeah.
their stuff
Yeah.
just move.
Yeah.
And then if they have more, then
Yeah.
that's their choice to move
Yeah.
more stuff, right?
Yeah.
We.
Okay.
It's gotten a lot better. Thank you much.
Yeah. Okay. And Sean, we hear your concerns on the safety stuff too, so I know that that's top of mind for a lot of people, so.
Trisha, I appreciate you because that's exactly why I got put on this committee, was to make sure that our special ed students were taken care of,
Yeah, no,
and all of our crisis students and security.
yeah, no, I hear you. Anything else in the classroom?
I've made the temporary
Okay.
mark to take out early childhood storage. I'll do the same with elementary storage, with the idea that we're solving that storage needed another
Okay.
way.
Different way, okay.
Okay.
Yes,
restroom. And the elementary student restroom, so that's 1st through 5th,
Correct.
that's
It's a multi-occupant restroom right now. It's the most efficient way to do it.
Okay. I know we went back and forth on that a little bit last time, having some, so do we have other private as well? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And we can be strategic about where those are placed. For example, the nurses or the health restroom wants to probably be accessible so that students can use it, right? It doesn't want to be buried back in the admin wing so that only the health office uses it. So we'll get some
Okay.
double duty out of those.
Okay.
Same for middle school classroom. I'll make the mark here to take out that storage room.
Not a storage room, okay, yeah.
And same with restrooms for there.
Okay.
And the specialized classrooms. Comments on those?
I don't remember. These are all the ones that were on that list that we went through.
They were, except for the math.
listed.
The math ones? Okay.
Yeah, and then there was specialty. I believe that was identified on the map for the current facility here. The existing room is room 20, it's about 800 square feet, but it wasn't on the needs summary. I don't know what the specialty.
And that's the room we used to have our meetings in, 20.
20, well, we had 20,
Yeah.
yeah, over there. So,
Is that special
So-
education?
the math classroom that we use is basically our interventionist classroom.
Okay.
And she does do advanced math, and I'll have 12 or 13 in there at a max. So I don't know if we want to combine those two pieces. So she does math for upper grades, she does intervention for all grades. That's kind of why she works in two places right now. But I don't know how that would combine together, but that's what that is.
Currently her room is about 800 square feet.
So you brought up interventionists, we did have two before, we went to one, do we need to think about if we go back to two? I don't think so, okay. Even at 300, okay, okay.
So we have the intervention room under support services with a max class size of about 8 is what I understood. That led us to a room size of about 300 square feet.
Yeah.
Yes, it's 6 to 8.
Does the intervention classroom have a bathroom?
Currently, no.
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 So what I have witnessed and what I have seen is that we need an intervention bathroom for the children that cannot use the bathroom properly and not share the bathroom with the office staff.
What about the nurses bathroom?
Our plan is to have a separate single occupant bathroom. for the-
Okay, great. I was just wondering. I did not see that.
Be in the intervention room, so it can be used by other people too.
Great chance to fast forward if you'd like. On the page with community, it's under section 12. We heard a request for a spot for the pantry, of course. We also heard a request for a spot for laundry. And then personal care was something that was mentioned by, I think, 2 or 3 different folks. The idea was that some special needs students need a place for diapering and clothes changing, place for privacy. Perhaps that is that same restroom as before, the health restroom?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's because we want to monitor by the health aide.
perfect.
We have it, yeah,
Okay.
it's part of her job.
Gotcha.
So this personal care would be combined with that restroom, so it would go away.
Perfect. Yep.
So if you're going to have a changing table in there, you need to make sure you have enough space.
I will be increasing the size of that.
Yeah.
It could be like one of those fold down ones, right?
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking, the
that's
little
good.
koala ones.
Yeah, but you still have to have ADA with it down.
With it down, yeah.
So you still have to have.
Well,
And
and
clearance.
sometimes the children that need the bathroom help are not small.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, they're not the size.
Different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay. So then that specialty classroom, room 20, is that something that currently exists?
Or something that's needed, I mean, it exists now, but I don't know if it's utilized.
On the side is.
What do we use it
It's
for
about
now?
800 square feet currently, but I didn't include it.
Which classroom you're talking
It's just labeled specialty under special ed.
Oh,
At
that's
the bottom.
where our upper grades, no, it's where Sarah Evelyn
That's 19.
That's 19. Oh, so
Yeah.
math is
20.
20,
Yeah.
okay.
But
So,
if we did math and the intervention and made that intervention room larger, we could host those in the same room
yeah.
and not have two separate.
Well, the other thing that we've added that hasn't been, we don't have is the math space maker space. We don't have that classroom now.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So, and when,
Yeah.
they talk about like ELOP classes, that would definitely be something that would go in there, so. But it's also, are there other things we can use that space for other than math or other than science? I don't know. So I feel like specialty science and math are all classes we kind of have ended up with special rooms for that we may not.
So the specialty room can
And
go,
increasing.
Away.
I think the specialty room can go away.
can go away.
Um,
The math room can go away, because technically they can combine with intervention and make that room larger, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Which one can go away?
Math.
math and
Thank-
the
Oh, yeah, 'cause
specialty
that's
room.
for the intervention, which is
Yeah,
on
we can make that one a little larger,
Yeah.
under intervention room is here. It's under support services.
Oh, I see, support services combined with math, okay.
Okay, and then, the science maker, is Jennifer's the one that talks a lot about that.
We need a space where science projects can be done.
Yeah.
So right now, we do a table and they'll do their science project on a table. It's, we do a lot of messy science in upper grades and we don't know.
That could be like the woodworking,
Yeah,
science.
woodworking could go there also.
Yeah, so I feel like, we kind of need that space.
Yeah, I think we need that, I do think we need that space designated as we focus
Science
more.
And we have an outside area where they do science experiments.
That's what currently is.
Will
for
we,
classrooms.
or what, did you say will we, or we do? Sorry.
Can we?
Can
Because
we?
right now we have a little storage facility, which is our copy room, that has upper grades like science stuff in it. And the upper grades teachers conduct the science outside or whatnot. I'm just wondering if we can just continue it outside instead of having a complete different room for science.
I think we want a space inside for some experiments, but then yes, there is outside experiment that
As
has
an
an
outlet
outside,
like
yeah.
Like 1-on-1. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard just a lot of desire, not just from Jennifer, for space to really.
Yeah.
To do science.
Yeah.
And not have so much of the science done
In their desk.
in their desk,
Yeah.
like making
Yeah.
cheese.
Like one particular room and one outside area for science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or more hands-on.
And the handwork is all done in one room,
Yeah.
they don't have two separate now,
We have
Just-
two separate
just
so they can't all be doing
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, or we can
We did
use,
that at,
consider the maker
The
space.
maker.
Fort Charter, that's their science
Be
classroom.
that.
so we're working
Okay,
on it,
like
and
upper grades.
Uh-huh.
It's a good one.
And they, I guess, if they're classrooms, they need to be that same size,
No.
like handwork, all the kids go at once, so they need to go.
They need to be,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Different classes there.
Okay, so then what about the music classroom and rehearsal?
And that's a question. For a
What's your
couple of
vision
years,
there?
we had, and it's just this year, last year, we moved back to having, so we used to have, when we had 380 students, we had two music rooms. We had the violin room and we had the noisy room. And then we moved down to one because we just had one teacher. And then last year with extra space, we ended up with rooms again, and so now we have 2 rooms. I feel like that was there's an empty room, we're gonna move it.
Yeah.
So I feel like 2 rooms is probably more than we really need.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
And
Yeah.
especially if we're talking about so much of the storage being in the great room, that we're gonna have storage space there, because a good portion of I call it the noisy room, because it's the band room and that's what gets the noisiest.
That's the one closest to the guitar.
Yeah, and it's all lined with, that's where they keep all the violins, and so if we had better storage space for the equipment and so forth, then we wouldn't need 2 classrooms.
So we could just have the rehearsal and not the classroom, which was storage.
Yeah, rehearsal a little bit larger, so we can leave, like, the risers set up
Yes.
and use that for choir all the time.
So music rehearsal / classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Susan, those risers are up in the music room right now.
I know.
One
Pretty cool.
one room can hold the risers. They were doing choir in there today. It was amazing.
Well, the risers don't even take up a third of the space of the room.
Yeah,
So they can do band and
absolutely.
choir in the same room, and then they can also do violin music.
Absolutely.
So if it's big enough for, so I'd say the larger music rehearsal, but not a classroom.
Okay.
Currently, the music room, which is closest to the great room, is 1,200 square feet. That's got a couple rolling racks for cellos. There's the shelves which have all the music cases and whatnot on them. And then a setup for band. If they had to do choir in that same room, would they have to strike the chairs for the band for the orchestra setup?
So if you went past it now, you would see that the risers, we had the concert, and she just moved the risers in there.
And they're still set up and
And it's
usable?
still, it's set up and usable.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
storage is
Folded and stuffed against the wall.
Absolutely.
actually set up so the kids, when they're doing choir,
So
are
it's
using them.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay.
But there,
I think
thanks to
I'll,
Measure K. we have this riser.
okay. I'll probably make the recommendation that I increase the size of that room just a little bit. I
Yeah.
do know that storage was tough at current
Yeah.
1,200 square
Yeah.
feet. so-
Yeah, okay.
Cool. And then foreign language, last one.
Yeah, foreign language could be at the 960, it's just another classroom.
Okay.
Really. We don't have it right now, but we are planning.
Why does it have to be back?
So,
So I don't have scratch screens. Thank you.
Food services?
Yes.
Okay, Kat.
Step on up.
Actually, it's Buck's department, I just work for him, so. I do have a couple questions. What is the size of our kitchen at this point right now?
I'm almost there, but I can't.
Thank you.
We need like seat warmers in here. We put that into the.
Heated
I'll
seats.
drop that. Your current kitchen is 300 square feet. And it felt tight.
And
Plus servery, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
our kitchen right now is also the serving space.
Correct.
that window is way too small.
What's the current trajectory?
Because I heard earlier when somebody said, oh, well, we got a serving window, that window is way too small.
Yeah.
And I'd really like to be able to keep food hot, so like have some like either, what do you call them, those heat lamps or steam table, just something, because as it sits right now, I cook the food, I heat the food, and then you pull it out, and in 5 minutes, it's freezing cold. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, so I would, freezing, yes, freezing. Just joking.
No,
No, I thought-
the building is cold.
Yes, no, that's what I mean,
Like
there's
2
no way to,
minutes
yeah,
get cold.
exactly.
The building is cold,
yeah.
so I agree with him.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's, that and just plenty of room for a couple giant freezers in there and then a couple giant refrigerators would be nice. And I'd really like to see I see you have a place for laundry facilities and stuff. I'd like to get that out of the kitchen just because of health reasons.
Sure.
Yeah, I know, but I just
Yeah.
don't want to wash and dryer in the kitchen.
So the idea would be, because now one of the fridges is in the office, like everything would be in the kitchen, and the
Yes.
office would just be a
Right,
desk
separate.
and.
Correct.
And that way we don't have to haul the food all over the different places. It'd be nice to have everything.
So is everything that, in that 400, like all of it gets stored in there? Like what's the combination, like what's the office next door to it?
Currently,
Oh, yeah, down here.
Because I feel like you-
custodial and kitchen office is 250 square feet. So if you combine those two rooms that you currently have, they're 550 square feet.
Okay,
I'm proposing 650 for those two combined uses.
plus an office.
Plus an office.
Okay.
Yes, perfect.
And a custodial office separate. but I
Separate
don't-
from that,
Yeah.
totally separate, yes.
Okay. And the laundry's not in
Yes, you can put that in custodial. Okay.
Sounds good.
Awesome, thank you, sir.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Facilities office at 150 square feet. We also heard the request for a workshop. So that's in there at 300. What do you all think about the concept of custodial closets?
Like around.
Yeah.
Around school, rather just have one centralized location.
It's a practice we use in larger facilities. Yours is right on the borderline where 3 is probably too many if you have a custodial janitor's closet, but maybe 1. And it's really a question for how janitorial services operate. I think you contract them out.
We do ourselves, we tell them how,
Do
if we go up, build up with elevator, if that's gonna be the case, then yeah, probably have one.
One on each
One of
floor.
each.
Yeah.
But if
That way
they're,
you're not bringing them up like up the elevator.
right, yeah.
Okay.
But it's, here we wheel them all around, so it's.
Okay.
50,000 square feet.
You're saving space.
Yeah.
So we'll knock that down to 1 if we do a 2-story building.
And then those down,
If it's
Two.
if it's just 2-story, one up and one down.
We could,
no,
or
yeah,
the,
we would definitely need one upstairs and one downstairs.
does the
Yeah, and the
facilities?
small, the one upstairs can be smaller, just for like mop buckets and stuff like
Sure.
that. Maybe even a little sink to fill up.
Yep.
And stuff like that,
Yep.
to wash out things. Yeah.
Do you think that facilities workshop could end up being that sort of custodial area too? Can there be a mop sink in the corner and a
Like
place for
the larger one
chemicals?
downstairs, you can provide them.
Yeah, we just have to.
If that's connected to the building.
Elevator and room. We try to be efficient with those, so that 80 square feet is probably gonna get tucked underneath the staircase if we can. But it's there just in case.
Yes, we need an elevator, especially for Kat. Get upstairs with her garbage cans.
General storage with that 500 square feet, that's currently what I think you have. In that
This is
catch-all
not
room.
like classroom storage or,
Like, what did you call that room?
because you're talking about the room that's over here by the bathroom?
On the far side, there's stuff crammed in
Wood
there.
shop,
Oh, that
That's
was
a
the
wood
old
shop.
wood shop.
That's the
What
old
used to
wood
be
shop.
Okay, okay.
that's the main one.
Got
So
it.
then the wood shop functions are kind of going in science maker space, and now that empty room wants to not exist, so people have no place to store stuff.
Do we have enough storage for
That, we don't really have much that we can use in there.
That was the idea for the ELOP storage wood shop.
And the wood shop is not much that we can
Yeah.
use. Okay, we are gonna go out.
That's a ELOP program.
Have to.
Purge, yeah,
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we can X that whole general storage?
I don't feel like we do.
so I'm gonna ask a very quick question, because I know once we get a new building, we're gonna have things like extra paints,
Yeah.
extra tiles, extra floor pieces, extra this, extra that,
Build.
for, from the build out to have for spares to fix things,
Totally.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So will that space that we're talking
Where
about
is that
using,
gonna go?
I would
yeah, is that gonna
recommend,
go into our general, custodial, not custodial, I hope not our custodial.
no, I'd recommend that we keep the general storage room.
Okay.
I could downsize it from 500, knowing that the former wood shop is not what is ideal.
Yeah,
So I'd say you definitely need some space for that. In the end, probably someone's gonna live in the facilities workshop, which is what happens.
I mean, 'cause we have like a big floor cleaning machine, and we only use it for certain times, and so I wouldn't really want it in my custodial closet in the way all the time.
We're not
Yeah.
gonna have these types of.
Oh,
yeah.
good. But anyway, nothing, we'll have to have something clean.
But Kat, you want it in the building so you can clean the building and your employees can clean the building,
Yeah,
not
Where is it?
outside the building. Yeah.
where do you keep it now?
It's inside the custodial closet.
Okay.
When you walk in it, where the 2 bathrooms are, we're like this,
Yeah.
the boys and girls.
Yeah.
You walk through, and there's the custodial closet, on this side where all the, yeah, and then on this side is for storage, and that thing just sits right in the middle. in the way. Just wishes.
Okay,
That's good, that was a good one. That was a good section.
yeah, thanks. I think we're almost there. What do we got left on this?
Definitely don't want to have to go out of the building for that.
Oh, nice.
So in thinking about this, we had 3 staff restrooms identified or labeled that way. I think what will probably actually happen is one of those might go to student all gender restrooms.
Yeah, that makes sense.
we had it set up so that there was one for each sort of grade chunk, right? We still need to do an occupancy calculation. Once we have a better idea of the total square footage, we can figure out how many restrooms you're gonna have, be required to have by code.
Okay,
That number will probably go up a little bit,
okay,
thinking through it now.
okay.
From 3, I'd probably think that 1, maybe 2 of those go to all gender student. And then maybe we do end up with 2 staff, maybe even 3 staff.
I also want to add that we also need a non-binary bathroom for LGBTQ.
Yeah, that's what he just said, an all.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great.
Under community, the pantry was separated out, 80 square feet, but maybe that lives inside of the community resource room, a locked cabinet perhaps, or even, I think it's just sitting on a shelf right now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
It doesn't need to be its own thing.
Its own thing.
Okay.
Cool.
And I might even find, is this for like the ELOP food and things like that?
No.
Oh, that's for the food. we
It's
give
for
you.
the
Yeah,
food
yeah,
pantry,
yeah.
yeah. that's
I was
for
wondering
that,
if we might have room in the kitchen for this.
yeah.
Do I remember correctly that there was some requirement within the group here that some ingredients need to be stored separately than other ingredients? Is that true? Food from
Like in
different
the
sources
kitchen?
had to be segregated? No?
Oh, for the, for extended
You mean
learning,
like the.
like after school snacks and
Oh.
stuff need to be separate from the kitchen, like the.
Yes, the ELOP is completely different. The funding is completely different.
What do you think those
But
probably?
not being stored separately, we just track it for our receipts, what we purchased,
Okay.
and it's distributed to our.
Yeah,
ourselves.
well,
Okay,
yeah,
great.
Okay.
it has been this past year kept separately because, but now we're doing it through our purchasing program for the kitchen, which is cheaper and faster. So we'll, and thank you, Kat, for that idea. So I think it'll be fine, because we're just saying, these are the snacks that we buy. And you'll keep it.
I know how to keep it separate.
Yeah.
Separate, yeah, so it'll be a little.
Well, I suppose that leaves us with the site.
What's the personal care, sorry? What one?
No problem. That was the one we were
Oh,
talking about.
we already talked, sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
it's all my notes now.
You're good.
Okay.
And we talked about putting the laundry somewhere else too.
Well, we talked about not having the laundry in the
The
kitchen.
kitchen.
It will be
It has its own space.
Its own
now,
space,
it
yeah.
is planned.
Okay.
Cool. At the risk of having a marathon meeting, if you'd like to talk about site, it would probably help, although it's not mission critical right now.
I say let's make sure we're talking about what we talk about.
Yeah.
Cool.
Going through.
Okay. A lot of these came from the basic needs summary. We'll start at the top, the school garden. I saw a request that that's edible. I think my thoughts on this were maybe about 100 square foot per class, but I don't know if all grade levels of classes are using it.
No, they're not.
They're not.
Yeah.
It's primarily third grade.
Yeah.
That uses it.
Okay.
And how big is it now? Tricia, do you have any idea?
I would guess.
Give Leo a call.
Yeah,
We have to-
500 square feet or so.
It's third, 2/3 of this room, probably.
So,
Yeah, it's like 700,
5.7 next one.
500.
with the storage sheds over on the side, and yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
storage is. A little more before storage is.
So when we think about the preschool forest play area for early childhood, that's on this side.
Yes,
We've got the playground in the back. Is garden?
it's in the far
Okay.
over here side.
Okay.
No, that's
That's
Yeah,
Yeah.
opposite of the kinder.
Okay.
That's,
So we'll take that
Kindergarten
down
has
size
its
a
own
bit.
garden though, right?
yes.
They don't really use it.
Kindergarten does not have an edible garden, they have a play garden,
Yeah, they have the fairy garden.
which
Yeah.
they use the fairy garden.
Yeah, yes, they do look like the fairy garden.
They do.
Which is the next one there? Is that right? In the needs summary, it was described as kind of a forest school play area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think their whole playground is kind of for a school, but then they have like a little area that's like fenced in. It's got like little walking trails and they call it the fairy garden.
Okay.
So, but I think if that is incorporated in a playground, the whole thing's for school. It doesn't have to be,
Doesn't have to be.
yeah.
we need a separate play area for the kindergartners and the grades,
Yeah.
definitely. And
Yes.
So that's what I'm seeing.
And some
It's here.
space between, yeah.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
not a shared
Not a
fence.
shared fence.
Well, designed so that the basketball players are not.
The curse
cussing
words
at
don't, sure.
the kindergarten.
Next to the people playing with the fairies in the garden.
Yes, yes.
The little ones play fairies in the garden, and this means that the big boys play basketball.
The best, they're managing, they are managing them. The
It's
middle
awesome.
schoolers are like, oh, I didn't think about that. Won't cuss anymore. So they're pretty good.
Oftentimes, we do get the request to separate, even within grades 1 through 8, the bigs from the littles.
There
Here
is,
you have it.
there is a desire for the middle school to feel like it has its own space.
And does
So-
that mean a separate play yard with fence, or does that mean a separate play structure, or just that's their side, that's our side?
I don't know, do they need a play structure? Do they utilize it, or do they more as like a community hangout?
I've heard most junior highs don't have play structures for.
No, I don't think they need a huge play structure. They need a
Gatherings, they
Yeah.
just sit on
Yeah.
top of everything and talk, they don't actually play with it or do
They
anything.
hang out
Common
in the
area.
sandbox because it's on that end of the, so
Or a
it's,
hand area.
I don't think they,
Be more of a building.
I think if you had a middle school, like common area.
The
That's-
middle
that's-
schoolers want a chill spot with just tables
yeah.
Like I could see a giant log hanging from a couple of.
and some shade. That's about it.
We're out camping.
I want any swinging
In that log and killing each
logs. That sounds really scary.
It was.
Yeah, so like a quad has been suggested. There's been a desire for the room, what is the name, what is the number for the special ed?
It connects to, like,
Courtyard?
It's just off the courtyard.
Yeah.
That kind of a space.
They
It's like-
love the courtyard feel.
There will be kids in that space right now, so that's why they don't get it.
90 kids in the courtyard, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the
Okay.
courtyard and a classroom. I mean, they would, they would, be on top of each other.
Yeah,
We have
yeah.
a hard enough time keeping them being on top of each other anyway. So that's the kind of space they would look for, is something that kind of is indoor, outdoor, I think is what they would like.
Okay.
But
We,
they do want a space that's their space, that they don't have to share with 5 and below.
What are you
Like that.
seeing, I mean, Julie, are you like, I know a lot of them are separate, but like in the middle school, is that?
Yeah, we had concerns when we brought the sixth graders up to the middle schools that then we would need some play. Because they were used to having
Yeah.
that as sixth graders. So we talked about it, but we never really ended up putting in any play for the 6, 7, 8.
It is something I think sixth graders, they are kind of like, oh, but
They-
they transition.
Yeah.
Once you transition them to be with the 8th graders are too cool to play, and the 6th graders
Yeah.
become too cool to play.
They are active though. They like
Yeah.
to play a lot of basketball.
Uh-huh.
Or
Yeah.
volleyball. They are not.
Yeah.
We underestimate the upper grades a lot, but they do love sports. We just have to find the sports that they actually love, which is volleyball, basketball,
Volleyball and basketball.
football. And there's no one to correlate those sports during yard time. So that is something that they do want.
Well,
Is
what
it-
about that backside of that park area? Could that also be
Probably
utilized?
be in the fenced in area,
Absolutely.
roam free outside the gates.
I find that the upper grades work really well when they're doing volleyball or any kind of sport that they actually love.
Yeah.
Tell me about the idea with the turf and track request for 20,000 square feet. Is that part of that? There's soccer,
I
there's.
never heard that.
Well,
Either I saw that and I went, what?
Does that go on the
Look at
roof?
that.
I was wondering where.
So I want to encourage that. The turf and track actually encourages cross country and track for high school. And my girls are really enthused with track and cross country. And I've also had an honor roll student at Chico High that did cross country and track. And if we supplied that kind of assistance to our children, then I think that they would do really well, because even with Girls on the Run, my girls have thrived so hard. And one of my daughters can run the mile in under 5 minutes. So I really encourage this.
I think, the turf and track, I don't remember the 20,000 square feet. It doesn't have to be like a separate space, so like, it could be.
It can
yeah,
be part of card.
in the courtyard area, right? It's just it has to be a path that they can run on, right?
Well, and it can be part of the card park as well.
Currently, we do like around the school, but yeah, to use like that portion of the card park.
Yes, is there a tradition here
That
of
would be amazing.
your race around the school?
Yeah, the
So
great race.
if we had some way that they could run outside and we could say it's a half a mile or something, we could like the measure things that
Yeah.
they have in the parks sometimes.
Yeah.
Where they say, you have to run a mile.
That's awesome.
something that as far as like a formal,
Yeah, it doesn't have to
high school
Yeah, like
track.
traditional track.
Yeah.
Like
cross
cross-country kind of, like.
There are
very,
more students
tires
involved
and-
in track at the high schools than any other
Yeah.
sport. I mean,
It's a lot of
very,
diversity.
very popular.
Yeah.
But they don't need a track
No.
and field to do it in, but they do have to have somewhere where they can kind of experiment and learn
Yeah.
those things and practice them before.
Yeah, and measure their distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're
Absolutely.
a common area with grass that they can use it for games and then,
And we're able to measure that. We can just, we do it at our school every year.
yeah. And I think
Absolutely.
we talked about that far end of the site, right?
Uh-huh.
Dan said like making that a grass area, so if there was something like when they were practicing the pentathlon, right, they could use that space.
Yeah, sure.
We don't need like, football field.
Okay. And soccer regulation, or just there's a
Yeah.
grassy spot and you can kick a ball around?
Yeah, where we
Yeah,
can put it,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't have
put up
space or-
events.
Yeah, that's much.
Like grass and get-
That was definitely big on the request.
Yeah.
Grass.
Very
grassy, green area.
And like the way it sits now, the kids, they can't kick any balls at all. It's
Mm,
not
too small.
allowed, yeah, because we have too many bloody noses and kids, hit the ground.
Yeah, somebody.
So there's absolutely no kicking balls at
Yeah.
our school. So It'd be nice to have a grassy area.
And I know that we've talked about the park that's next to it as far as having some flat area for certain things that we could do. And if the teacher, which we do now for pentathlon anyway, the
Yeah.
teacher takes
Them over.
children to where they can practice the pentathlon. And I haven't seen us even doing any archery since COVID, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but those kind of things can be set up in the
Yeah,
park
in the
area.
park area.
Yeah.
So.
When I
That's
talked to
gonna be
the-
amazing.
So there's a difference between our play yard time
Yes.
where we're watching children free play and the games program, which there's a teacher actually with them going, we're gonna go over here and throw
Yeah.
things that are
Practice the pentathlon. Yep.
away from
Jousting.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really like that.
That's amazing.
The outdoor storage.
Yeah.
And I realize it since the incident.
Yeah,
When you said
I was thinking more of
since
like
and you
the
paused.
games guy.
Oh.
Yeah, oh, yes, stuff.
Since,
You
you
know,
know,
that's true.
Yeah.
COVID.
You know, I go
I was like,
back and
since
go
we got
stuff.
thrown off.
Well, the teacher
We-
actually
we,
did a good job
So it's great that we have thoughts.
archery back
Yes.
there and then we have.
So what's
then we
the,
haven't
what's
done
the quiet seat? That's like within the courtyard, like benches, like kind of thing.
I think
That's what we have,
So-
the East Garden over
Okay.
there in the corner, is that what you're thinking?
So this was on the basic needs summary and it was described as small flower gardens.
Oh, yeah, okay, so that is,
East Garden.
yeah,
Okay. Which is on that side, but not.
it's within the playground, if that's what you're talking, right?
Yeah.
It's just that Crystal's been working on?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's turning out nice.
yeah, it is, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, she has her after school club right now, Garden Club, and they're doing all of it.
who's that one?
Crystal, yeah. Yeah, her husband, yeah.
Yes. So again, that to me would be part of just like, as we're designing the landscape where we got fit. It's not like,
Yeah, we don't need
Yeah.
to design a space
like,
around it.
the where it is now was like, okay, here's a space, you know,
Yeah.
nobody was like, oh, you know, how, where are we gonna put it? It was definitely like, oh, here's a space with some dirt.
And it hasn't been utilized in years, it's just now coming back.
It's got,
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
So,
again, it's, it takes care
yes,
and
somebody that wants to,
and somebody wants to care for it.
Yeah.
So it tends to be a volunteer
Yeah.
We will be taking our playground with us.
thing. Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
that's the plan.
We are.
Tell
them at my room.
I did, I don't even, I was
It was
gonna-
before time.
We'll hire somebody to put it up again, okay?
Go try and clap
That's
it.
all I can do.
Yes.
I talked to two other
He's still
contractors.
traumatized by this playground, as you can tell.
Both of these big name general contractors that you guys said, that is the worst thing I've ever had to do.
Yes.
Put together a playground.
Yeah, I've had 2 billing, like they didn't even, like now I'm out, I'm not gonna. Really? Alright, see ya. So we did it.
So Julie asked about something that is very important, and it's not shown on here, but parking and drop off inside circulation. So I didn't bring it today because we're not there yet, and I'm glad I didn't because we had plenty to talk about. But we've already started sketching on the site. Maybe this is a time for me to talk about the site a little bit and maybe give you enough about costs to think about.
Okay.
What we understand at the site right now is that with an approximately 50,000 square foot building, if we were to install parking as we need to, install the building as we need to, about 50,000 square feet, that would leave us between 10 to 15,000 square feet for site staff. It's not a lot, and it's not enough. What we think, excuse me, at this point currently is that the amount of site, we felt the site coverage to put a 50,000 square foot building on that site is not acceptable to do a one story.
Yeah, so that's why we're talking about the
Correct.
second story.
And at the beginning, we had some thoughts that maybe it might have been possible. You know, we saw the site plan here, which had half the size of the school as we're currently talking about. And it worked. It doesn't work in parking. Yeah.
Functionally.
They
Right.
had presented as a 2-story building.
I think at one point that plan rolled across my desk and I saw it.
They had proposed to us a 2-story building.
So, excuse me. What I think the best strategy may be. I'm gonna stick my head
Do
under
you
the
like
sink.
wine?
I think I'm okay. I did it fast. Thank you. Part of the building would be 2-story. I think that maybe the most efficient way to do it is for one footprint to go up and be 2-story. That's not always the most possible thing with schools. Oftentimes we find that admin wants to be downstairs and perhaps a small admin presence is upstairs with upper grade classrooms upstairs. Littles downstairs, bigs upstairs. Is the-
That's why.
Maybe in like the science classroom and stuff like
Yeah.
that, like close.
Correct. There was a discussion, I can't remember who it was with here, but the specialized classrooms, including handwork and the science maker classroom, acted as sort of a buffer perhaps between the bigs and the littles. That works well in a 1-story building, but in a 2-story building, that's not really possible. So that's where our mind's at right now. I say that because it'll give you enough room to not only have what was theorized by the civil engineer in the previous version as drop off on the street, which is odd because Apodaca, as it will be finally developed to connect up to Bruce, is actually pretty narrow.
Yeah.
If you've driven through Marion Park, you might notice that the on-street parking, the parallel parking is right there where the cars are and it's tight. There's a lot of areas where it's hard to get through.
Yeah.
I don't think that we can really rely on on-street drop-off or pickup. You know, maybe it might happen, somebody can actually legally park there, but I don't want students dropping off and picking up from the street. So we need more space on site to have people circulate through, drive through for actual parking.
I
Other-
agree with you 100% because there's students that get hit by parents all the time in front of Marsh on a weekly basis.
That's what I've never heard
Yeah.
of. Here,
Wow.
I don't know, it's like about March. Chico High.
So let's go to Chico High
Chico High
today.
is a real problem.
Oh, yeah, well, She
Because they
goes,
have no
I
drop-off.
get that, it's a little crazy that definitely needs to be recessed.
There's no drop off there,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had always thought like some sort of an, some sort of a circular or in and
Yeah.
out,
Mhm.
like many of the elementary schools have.
Yeah.
So some space off.
We got so lucky with this site here because there's kind of a natural loop to it, right?
Yes.
We'll think of that, trying
They
to
can
make that
kind of
happen.
line up down the street and just kind of migrate in and out,
Yeah.
up on Bruce and roll out.
Do you have staggered pickup and drop off at this point, or is it all?
No.
Well, we do have a cross guard in the morning, so we do have somebody that is out there in the morning time. So that is very valuable to the situation. But we might need to pay more attention to the fact because we're in that specific area.
So since we've done ELMP in the last 2 years, starting at 7:15, so people can do early drop off, we've had much less trouble
Yeah.
with that. Occasionally, when the Enlow light, goes red and then turns green and right at the right time, then suddenly we have a line out into the East Avenue. But they do have a turn for us. It hasn't been. If we're at full capacity, that might be an issue.
Okay.
The drop.
So
But-
right now,
but
we're
what
like
I- what I-
5 minutes different, right?
Yeah,
Release time.
right, there's,
Yeah.
5 minutes difference.
Yeah.
I can see us lining up down Apodaca towards the
Yeah,
apartment buildings
that's
that
what I
are
said,
there,
yeah.
and then pulling out and going out, so people pick up and go out to Bruce, but we would probably be in the street there.
Well, we also have marsh traffic as well because we're on that side street and we're also on the main street.
So this-
Our kindergarten drop off is different times, but other than that, there's no staggered. So kindergarten is
It's not, but it is spread out, that drop off is spread out.
yeah,
And even in the afternoon now with clubs, we have,
it's pretty spread out.
it's pretty,
Yeah.
we'll have up
Yeah.
to 60 of our kids.
It's a
that are
10
still
minute
here
to
till
like 4
4:15.
o'clock.
10-minute
or
pickup,
4:15.
sometimes
Yeah.
only 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and that's how fast it is.
You would
it
know
does.
more.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really
That's
fast.
the
Yeah.
extra.
Yeah.
I mean, all students drop by 3:05.
And you
And by
guys have
4,
correlated those times.
Because it's already dead. So
Have
I
you guys correlated the-
7-minute period of time.
Yeah.
Have you guys correlated the times with marsh times?
We haven't got to any level of detail of that yet.
Okay.
Do Marsh kids go down that, but that road has been blocked off, so we
Yeah,
have.
they're used to
We
getting that, 32
Yeah.
from
Oh,
32.
they're
on
Not
32 and first
and
and
then
up
they
there.
go up from Bruce.
That area is inundated,
Mhm.
on the 32 side.
Yeah.
there, Off of Marsh.
So it would be hard if you're coming up 32 to get to us if you were coming up that side. If it was around the same time.
Yes, yeah.
So something to think about when we get to that.
So when we did a Chief Target School on East Avenue, a traffic study was required for that because it was a new
Yeah.
use at a church, right?
Mhm.
And the city had an issue with what the traffic study stated, because they were right, there was gonna be a lot of people coming out of tiny little church parking lot. The way that they solved it was a staggered pickup and drop off. Your site's small, we can't fit a ton of circulation or pickup and drop off on site, but we'll try. The concern that so I guess first, the civil engineer stated that the city's position as a last discussion of the site was that a traffic study wasn't gonna be required. It was designed to be retail or office, which that use in their minds is more intense than a school site. It's a little different, right? The traffic's spread throughout the day, not just one pickup and drop off time. The concern that my staff and I had was people coming off of Bruce and turning onto Apodaca. Because then they'd have to
It's a
either,
left-hand turn.
yeah, and then if they're trying to get back in the school parking lot, which might be on the far west side perhaps, they'll be lining up on Apodaca and maybe they'll pitch back
Push
out
out
to
to
Bruce.
Push back into Bruce.
That was my concern.
So there might be a necessity to look at the staggered pickup and drop off time if we're there, just because we are so
Or even-
constrained.
We can move
Even like
traffic,
10 minutes.
we can move traffic from COVID, we decide the whole.
And if that's something we have to look at, and that's something we have to look at.
Yeah.
So,
Other than that,
Cross that bridge when it comes.
Yep.
Some people like to say, we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. We have started sketching, and right now our focus is on trying to maintain connection towards the creek as much as possible.
Nice.
It's south facing. It makes sense to have exposure there for solar reasons. The sun, it's nice in that direction. We also don't really want to have much of a student presence on Bruce or Apodaca.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we're trying our best not to turn our backs to that side of the site, but that's pretty much what it's going to turn out to be, because the best orientation and use for you is towards the creek and to the south and the west.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with that.
Okay. Other than that, what else can I say about the site?
Perimeter fencing.
Yeah, that's something we look forward to talking through, especially as we figure out what Dan's going to do with that site, because there needs to be access, right?
So can
There
I
are-
ask a question? Are we gonna have solar on the new site?
Yes.
We have to have some level of solar, yeah.
Okay,
Correct.
because some parents were concerned that we were gonna be all on electric and not solar.
Yeah, we have to have
Okay.
some, yeah.
So can I ask,
Great.
when you mean orientation, do you mean that most of the school will be facing towards that area and away
Correct.
from the street and
Correct.
Bruce?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
I just want to.
When you picture people outside or walking through doors or sitting at picnic tables, it'll be on that south side, kind of facing towards the creek for the most
Yeah.
part.
And I think when you're ready, we had talked about meeting with Dan before, but we kind of want to get through some of this, so when you're ready to have that meeting, then just, we'll set it, and you know better than I do.
I think if I know Dan, he would love to have something to look
Yeah.
at.
Exactly,
So
so we were
maybe
kind
once
of
we
trying
get-
to get to that point, yeah.
To the site
Yeah.
plan.
I want to see the drawings.
The civil engineer has helped us understand some challenges on the site. You're covered with utilities. There's a ton of utilities out there because they've already stepped in for retail. There's a significant grade change from the Bruce Road intersection going west on Apodaca.
Yeah.
We had a initial sketch that he was looking at with me for a one-story building. We were trying our best to squeeze it in there. From one end of the building to the other, there was an 8-foot elevation.
Oh, wow.
So going two-story helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the strategy that he was describing, scrape from one side and place on another, level aside. If we go two-story, there's not that much of a concern, but there still is some pretty significant change there. That might lead to some additional site costs for things like retaining walls or cut and fill excavation work to make it buildable. But we're looking on that. So.
That's why we have you.
I want to give you enough to chew on with regards to cost, because I told you I'd have a little something to think about. I am not going to tell you what your school will cost today. We just don't have enough information. But I will tell you in generalities what I discovered by working with our colleagues at Cumming. Obviously, a one-story building would be the lowest cost. Two-story will be a higher cost, and their understanding of it was that
But we'd already put in here for elevator use and stuff too.
Yeah.
So,
I thought I had a cost, like a percentage comparison between one-story and two-story, but instead I will give you what was described to me as something that would be tough to beat. A wood-framed building, which would be a two-story. The tough-to-beat number in Chico, which, in talking with Julie, we kind of had the same thought. We can beat it. Chico is much more competitive than the areas where these folks are working.
Killing me. Spit it out. That's what, I've been here 3 hours waiting to hear this number come out of your lips.
Cheer on it, get
I'll start with.
We're waiting.
Okay, the good one.
Prevailing wage, two-story wood-frame building, 700 square feet, $700 per square feet.
700 per-
Non-prevailing?
Correct.
what does that mean, non-prevailing?
It's
That-
not what we can do.
So
Yeah.
prevailing wage would up that, and they think that a two-story wood-frame building would be about $750 to $800 per square foot.
Prevailing.
Correct.
750 to 800.
Correct. And that's wood frame. We have concerns, typically it's hard to get a wood frame building through DSA. They have higher design requirements for us. So steel frame was the next the construction method that they priced out for us. I'll say non-prevailing just because I went with an arm's distance of Julie.
We only go non-prevailing if we don't get prep two,
That is correct.
so.
And don't use any public.
No,
money
it
of any
is
sort.
prevailing, you can't use measure
Oh, that's true.
C
That's
or
true.
K,
Okay, so,
either.
It's prevailing because they
Yeah.
want the property.
Correct.
Public money, public
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Prevailing wage.
Okay.
Prevailing wage, steel frame 2-story, around $800 per square foot.
that's non-prevailing.
That is prevailing.
That's prevailing
Anywhere from about 800 to 850.
wage with steel frame.
Okay.
Correct. And I said I was going to say it. I'll say it just for fun. The non-prevailing wage is around $700 to $750 per square foot for steel frame 2-story.
Plus site.
Correct.
Plus what? Site work.
Correct.
This is just building.
That's right.
And that's just construction costs, not soft costs. So you have to add,
That's correct.
let's say, 20, somewhere between 22 and 28% to that.
I know.
Correct.
Yeah, before we fine tune
Oh.
it.
So in addition to the prevailing wage discussion, there's this question about whether or not the funding source would require us to go through DSA. According to Cumming and the work that they do, they see that DSA compliance adds anywhere to like 15 to 20% to the project costs. But of course, that opens up a lot of funding opportunities for the project.
How much do you say DSA adds again? Sorry.
About 15 to 20%.
20%.
So all that is to say, and I told you I'm going to tell you what you're losing costs, but I'll tell you in large round numbers because that's where we're at. And save you the hassle of going through and adding up the numbers and multiplying the numbers I just told you.
And is the one that you're telling us, is that the prevailing wage with the steel frame, is what you're gonna tell us now?
I will tell you both, because in my mind, there's a strong chance that you're probably gonna end up going to DSA, but we just don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
And this
Which-
is
which
based on
the different-
50,000 square feet.
Yes,
This-
yeah. The difference in my mind is whether or not we can build wood framed or whether or not we have to go to steel. Again, we've seen that it's more difficult to get a wood frame 2-story building through DSA, which might push us to steel. So anywhere from around 30 to 40 million is a 2-story prevailing wage wood frame building.
I'm sorry, that was a lot of money.
And steel frame 2-story prevailing wage was anywhere between 35 and 45. And I want you to forget those numbers as soon as I've said them, because those are not final, they have not been vetted, they've not been looked through by the cost estimating. That's just something to
An
think
idea.
about.
Well, and that's why we did this, right? That we-
If you guys are confident in making this happen, then we're confident, so that's-
Funding's a tricky animal.
Yeah.
it'll come. Right? We'll figure it out.
We just build a dream.
Gotta start, cause
Yeah, but then
it will never
vision out
happen if
there
you
in
don't
the
start,
universe.
so
Yes, right.
starting.
You guys haven't-
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, I
Thank
know it
you
was
for
a
everything.
significant amount of work to get to this point, you know.
This is the fun part.
I
You get to talk to people and learn all your stories and figure out what you need. It's like unraveling a ball of twine and it's great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring a blanket next time.
I like,
I'm shivering.
Nicole brought a blanket to sit on.
Yeah, and then I
That's
got my
so-
sweater, yeah.
Good idea, yeah.
I can't not.
Okay.
And then, I know you're not done yet, but I have to talk to you about that.
Okay, I know that we asked questions along the way, so before we adjourn, I don't, when is our next?
We had written
Yeah.
in our minutes, it had said that we were going to continue on the second Tuesday
We are.
of each month at
Maggie
5
so
o'clock.
nicely printed these out for us. So our next, what month are we in, January? Our next scheduled meeting is February 11th. But before we do that, where's your time frame on coming back with our next?
This is the quick part. For us to make the changes to the program and get the cost estimating folks engaged, it'll be pretty quick. Is it 28th? We could have cost numbers and an updated program by the 11th.
So if we do it on our next scheduled February 11th at 6.
We could do that. And then the next meeting after that, we can look at having, depending on how that discussion goes, a test for site and for floor plan. I do want to be cautious though, because if we get to a point where we know funding, we know cost at the next meeting, and the general consensus is that just is not going to fly.
Yeah,
I don't want to go through the effort of drawing you up a pretty site plan or a floor plan that's not what you can afford.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
we'll say tentatively that we could do it the next one after this. Not February 11th, but what's the
Yeah.
next one after this?
The next one would be March
March
11th, but we love to have special meetings on this committee. So.
Yeah.
And Maggie just thinks.
I just love
Fantastic.
those.
So, okay, so February 11th at 6, I'm gonna just ask one more second, on the wood and the steel, those are some like prefab, or that's just?
No, that's actually a good question. Those are all site-built structures.
Okay, and do we think any of that saves cost?
To do modular?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or at least
does.
the
Okay.
pre-factored walls, you know?
So the thing that I've been talking about with several colleagues is what that means going through DSA if we
Yeah.
do decide to do modular. And correct me if I'm wrong, because you may have done some of this in the district, modular construction that is, but it pushes you through very specific channels. Oftentimes the folks who have prefabricated or modular solutions have already gotten those approved by DSA.
Yeah.
Which means that you're buying them from one manufacturer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or some contractors have actually gone to the effort to hire design firms and get pre-approved. Some even site-built pre-approved DSA buildings.
But then they have to speed that and fit on your, yeah, which
Correct.
is.
And
traffic or
you have to
anything.
use that contractor to build that building.
Got it.
Yeah.
So they're very specific. I think that they do save you money. I was trying to find my notes from coming.
In my experience, they can be cheaper to purchase a modular construction. There are, a handful of firms in the state of California that do school modulars. They have what they call a PC approved plans.
Yeah.
So certain sizes and constructed spaces, or modules that are approved by the state, but they don't necessarily always fit what you need.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They become the designer for that portion of your plans. You would still have RGA as your architect, but they would do all of the designing work for their modular buildings that would be incorporated into their plans. They do have to be bid separately to decide which modular firm you're going with. So it is added steps and added time. They have very busy schedules right now.
Yeah.
So getting in line for, buildings to be manufactured, you could be 2 years out or more before they could get you in line to build your buildings. I haven't done a lot of them. We're getting ready to do a 2-story modular for Inspire, but it really is classrooms only.
Yeah.
Classrooms on the bottom, classrooms on the top. There's no admin in it. There's no restrooms in it. There's, it's very plain Jane modules. Where you guys may have, different need that you want to fill. So.
And how long has it been since you've had one like
Inspire.
that you worked with since before Inspire?
I helped Durham Middle School build their new campus with all modulars, but they're very plain. It just opened this last fall.
Oh, okay.
But that was before the whole TK rush on modulars, so the modular companies are very busy now with building TKs, and the state gave up some, funding for TKs, so they got a lot of those coming through there.
Gotcha.
For,
Did they end up using modulars at Durham that are typical or modular, TL11 siding, those types?
Yeah, they are very plain. They did do stucco on site after they were placed.
Okay.
So they look a little nicer than T111. But they're clean. They're very nice.
Good.
And they're
But there's
gonna be
also
hardy.
right there for us, there's what's feasible and what we would like to have, right? And then
Right.
there's somewhere in the middle.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
You could do a combination
That's
of
what I
the
was
two.
going to
like
just ask
maybe-
as well, is to do like maybe the bigger 2-story as more of a site build, and then maybe if we had a smaller area, like for like the younger kids or
Oh, right.
something.
Or their
Yeah,
spe-
the
or your
TA or
specialty
sped or
spaces, your
something.
stick belt.
Yeah.
Would you be able to have a elevator under those type?
You can.
Okay.
Modulars aren't what they used to be.
No.
I think modulars, it's not anything like they were.
Yeah,
right.
it's come a long
Fancy,
way,
but
yeah.
Right.
but
They
yeah.
can get very fancy.
I
And
know,
most
you could
people
put
do
stucco
not
on
know.
Right.
They don't know that they're modular construction because you know,
They're not
on
the
a
same as the portables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
permanent foundation.
Yeah.
And we all turned out okay, and we were in those portables.
Yeah.
Sorry
But
to know.
you lose your ability to
Great picture.
customize them the way that you
You're not
want because they come a certain way.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that, because that's been a big discussion. Okay.
Really interesting to the modular construction.
Thank you for everybody. It was nice meeting you.
Thank you, you too.
Modular construction can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. It can mean a site like Chico Country Day School where there's separate buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can also mean what Julie's referring to with the Inspire one, which is a 2-story building, and it's the parts and pieces that are put together to
Yeah.
make it. Yeah. So I saw the site plan that, again, North Star had kind of done this as a quick sketch, but these pieces are very separate, and it's kind of like a Chico Country Day School site.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Your facility is not that now.
No.
And I wanted to have this rolling on the back of my mind.
And you don't have the space to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that if
to
you
do
need
that.
all of this. You
No,
don't have
yeah.
the space to do that.
So when we talk about modular construction for your needs for this project, it is probably, if that's something that happens, it's probably like Inspire, where it's parts and pieces of the line that are put together.
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Talked
a-
about modular.
We talked about adding on,
Yeah.
you need now, add on.
Yeah.
Yeah, phasing out
Yeah.
if we needed to.
And it is cheaper, but it's not significantly cheaper. I
Right.
mean, it's not like,
As far as
Yeah.
timeline.
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
It's
But
just what we
time-
need,
the
yeah.
time is
It's-
the problem.
Well,
Yeah,
and that's the
percentage
thing,
less.
Right.
Yeah.
there is a cost for
Right.
timing, right? Like, how much does it cost us to wait 2 extra years?
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Which,
Yeah.
before we part, I now have official approval to talk to you about some of the endless stuff. Cherry Lane came to talk to me.
All doesn't know anything.
Okay.
okay,
So,
so we're good?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna call, this meeting to adjourn at 9:01. Totally lied to my children.
I totally like I was thinking we were starting at 4:15, so.
Oh, well, you
My
were
husband
way
was
off.
like, where the heck is she? He never questions that. So Kevin, let's get together so we can talk about the endless stuff and also get you to talk to Cheryl.
I'll send you
They're
some.
gone. So's the container they were in.
Thank you.
Oh,
You still never
said
thanks them for coming on our appreciation.
Yeah.
You still never
Oh,
come that
oh,
red little.
yeah. This is me messing with me.
well,
I gotta check that when I saw your new.
Because I did
It's
a.
stuff there.
and
My
last
gosh,
time I
it
did
is cold in
sat-
here.
we sat in the- Why is
that is our.
it's not planning?
Okay.
And I go, this is
Thank
what
you all.
that chair, and then
That's
I
it.
go, well, it's not that, it's planning. So I'm getting confused and I feel like.
So is I'm assuming it's this 20,000.
Yes, planning and design services.
feeling
Okay.
like.
So like,
Instead
that's
of
the
that,
I know, there's a draft.
Oh,
Yes, I should.
oh, I just thought, I didn't know what that meant. So we needed to.
Thank you everyone for
That's
attending.
tape,
Started to get like-
Tricia.
I didn't